Bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Thursday. It is Tuesday, 13th August 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. A report will be presented to National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hinds about the crime situation in Tobago and what is needed to address it. It will follow an effort by the Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Keith Scotland, SC, and Commissioner of Police Early Herwood Christopher over the next 2 days to boost confidence of Tobago officers while mending relationships with communities across the island. The both took a tour of Tobago, and the rigorous crime plan will be finalized and implemented. Yesterday, Scotland kept his promise to visit the island to get a first-hand understanding of the unprecedented crime situation occurring on the island. He was joined by Herwood Christopher and other officials as they paid visits to police stations across Tobago and met with officers and community members. The minister and the COP met with residents and relatives of people who lost their lives to gun violence in Tobago. Tobago has experienced 19 murders, and Scotland and Herwood Christopher says they are ready to win the war against crime. A mentally ill man is now in police custody after he allegedly beat 57-year-old Marla Boudram to death at her Clanghorn Village Princestown home yesterday. Residents were in shock after Marla Boudram was found dead with marks of violence about her body. The suspect was arrested at the scene, works at the Water and Sewage Authority in San Fernando. Investigators said reports that around 11:40 a.m., Boudram went downstairs of a property to ask the suspect why he had disconnected the internet, which he paid for on a monthly basis. It's believed the suspect flew into a rage and started beating her about the body. Boudram's sister Omati Basdio said after the attack, the 32-year-old suspect had taken a bath, changed his clothing, and sitting in the house. He called them then to say Boudram had suffered a heart attack. She was found with blood in her mouth and bruises on her body. Basdio said the suspect also reported had a history of mental illness and had stopped taking his medication. Marla Boudram was a mother of two and worked at a roti shop and often catered for her neighbors. Trinidad and Tobago-born President of the United Nations General Assembly, Dennis Francis, says the 15-nation Caribbean community or CARICOM will have to resolve their differences among members on Venezuela's election results. Leaders of the independent members of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines have congratulated Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on his recent re-election. The UN General Assembly President says CARICOM will have to address its different positions in the matter. Francis spoke with the media on the issue, making it clear the UN respects the stance taken by each regional country or CARICOM on this development. Police seized a firearm and a quantity of narcotics during an exercise in Central and Northeastern Division between 2 and 10 p.m. on August 11th. Officers of Central Criminal Investigation Department conducted a division-wide exercise focusing on multiple high-crime areas. Acting on credible information, the teams proceeded to locations in Waterloo Link Road, Petersfield, and Chagonas. There, they searched an abandoned structure and found a red and black shotgun, 1 round of ammunition, and 6 clear plastic wrappings containing cocaine, totaling 31 grams. The items were seized and lodged at the Chagonas police station. Also, between 9 p.m. and 12:30 this morning in the Northern Eastern Division, officers were executing a search warrant on Chaconia Avenue, Coconut Drive in Mova, where they discovered 475.3 grams of marijuana in a bushy area of the roadway. No arrests were made in connection with that seizure. In news of the region, Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness has condemned the recent Clarendon gun attack on Sunday, which left 8 people dead, including an 8-year-old boy, and 9 others nursing injuries on Sunday, calling it reprehensible, brutal, and senseless. He's charged the Jamaican Constabulary with finding the perpetrators and said the country will not tolerate this type of wanton violence. More than half of U.S. states are reporting very high levels of COVID-19 activity as the virus continues to spread and increase in many parts of the country, according to the latest wastewater data report from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. At least 27 states are reporting very high levels, and 17 are reporting high levels, according to the wastewater viral activity scan. The Western region continues to see the highest levels, followed by South, Midwest, and Northeast, respectively. Many national surveillance systems have diminished in scope since the national public health emergency ended officially, leaving authorities with limited resources to monitor how the virus is spreading across the states. Genetically similar variants known as KP.311 and KP.3 currently make up more than half of estimated cases, CDC data shows. The CDC has already recommended that everyone over the age of 6 months get an updated COVID-19 virus this season. The recommendations will take effect as soon as the vaccines are made available, pending FDA authorization. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Tuesday, not Thursday, but Tuesday, the 13th day of August. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Of course, it's all about the R's this morning. We just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Ruben, and then we got the S's. We got Shane, and my name is Steve Khan. All right, so good morning to you. It is 24 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 26 at Crown Point in Tobago with rain, and we had some serious rain overnight in some parts of the country, mainly western Trinidad. Had some flooding as well. So good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone.
I see you brought the rain with you.
From what I hear, the rain was here before I got here.
Yeah, pretty much. Had some serious rain last night. The tropical storm Ernesto got the outer bands coming through, of course, up the islands in Kitts, Puerto Rico, just to name a few, under tropical storm warning. So good morning to you all. Hope you all stay safe. Of course, yesterday had some flooding in the east-west corridor, pretty much. The Mova intersection, Party Bus Route, Maritime Roundabout, on the highways. Yep. It's by Yui. Look at that car floating on your screen.
But what's she doing?
That's right by St. Augustine there, you know.
Yeah, they got some serious.
That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. That is. And you know where I realized that most of the water that floods the Maritime Party Bus Route in Mova is that river that is just north of the Party Bus Route. It's on, I don't even know the name of the street, but there's an incline where you can drive into the river. So the water comes up on that side. On your screen is St. Augustine. Yeah, not too far from that Unipet gas station. When it heavy rain, that road, and that's why Henry Pier Terrace, that side road.
That is just absolutely astounding to me that water got to the level where it could sweep away a car. And I don't know why this driver took the chance. Apparently, it's a female driver, and they were trying to guide her to not turn around the car, but the water just took the car away down the street. This is just after St. Augustine heading east. Just after Mario's and Mario's Pizza Outlet and Massey Stores heading east at the intersection there.
I don't know where she's going. I didn't.
Well, she has no control over the car at this stage.
No, you have no control. You have no control.
It's the same area with a different camera perspective.
That's by Henry Pier Terrace and the Eastern Main Road, which is just east of the Mario's Pizzeria and Massey Stores. Yeah. I know that well. I have a friend that lives in that road. Morning to you, Neil.
My barber is from around there, and I was
Really?
actually at barber yesterday morning, and there was nothing like that. But by the afternoon, that is what residents and business owners were faced after a little rainfall.
It poured for about an hour
So I don't
in
know.
that area. And of course,
Very disturbing.
in Curep had some flooding by Watt Street, by Gate Boys, by UE there, by Caps Bar also had some flooding. Overnight, the Diego Martin River reached, it was extremely high. They had some flooding out in Carnage as well. And that's overnight. Of course, I believe we're in adverse weather. The Met Office has not updated their weather. They still have from 4:10.
But it'll be a cautionary tale. People should not try to drive through from floodwaters.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Not only that, water
It's a very
gets
dangerous thing to drive through floodwaters.
Yeah, I mashed up I wrecked a transmission of one of my cars one time because I went through some flood water and it was pretty high and water leaked into the transmission. When we rebuilt it, he said, yes, there was rust or water. Did you drive through any water? No. And then I went, oh, yes, I did.
Yeah. Good morning to you, Sue. Everywhere's dry this morning.
Yeah, including the taps by me. I have not gotten water yet. Bone dry still. They said everybody should get water by today, but my tanks are pretty much on crisis level. I can live without tea and tank, but I can't live without water. Anyway, let's say good morning to a few people that sent us messages via Facebook and YouTube and WhatsApp. Like Slick Money Grip, DJ Ray out in Delaware, Garcia in Valencia. What's the weather like in Valencia? Beefy Smith in Goodwood, Tobago. What is your weather like in Tobago? Oliver Man Warren, Wayne Bennett in Covenant, Georgia. Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Sasha out in London. I think Taylor Swift is heading to Wembley to perform, and they had to hire 1,000 security officers for the few nights that she'll perform there. Wendy and James, Boy Bedesi out in Davie, Maria Celia, Hilda Wells, Carol Guevara, Gloria Gray, Sheldon Roach, Rena Boodoo Jennings, Dee Pierre, Randy Kelly, Marcia Rock in Orlando, Bisnath Basad, Ian Lee. Ian Lee, you're in West Trinidad. Did you guys get a lot of overnight rain? Mo Gaines, John Cato, David Wares, and of course, Mrs. Wares. Good morning. Rena Boodoo Jennings. Oh, Rena said it called a truck-borne water supply. Well, they say water come market today, so hopefully it will. B.V. Smith is saying sunshine in Goodwood. We had some rain last night. Okay. Thank you, B.V. Smith. Anthony from Toronto just came back from TNT, had a great time. Did look at the show, but delayed version. Okay. That's my stomping ground, Anthony. Val, good morning. Captain Ron, still in Nebraska. Devon is in. Good morning to you. Let's see. GNC Auto Security. Yeah, good morning to you all on WhatsApp. Thank you so much for sending us a message. We love when you think about us first thing in the morning. Yeah. And
Minister of National Security, Keith Scotland, SC, and the Commissioner of Police paid a visit to Tobago yesterday, and I think they'll be still there today.
Yeah.
And they visited several police stations in Tobago and paid visits to many communities and family members of people who have been shot or killed in Tobago. They're trying to build confidence of the police officers working in Tobago, and also build public confidence of the residents, Scotland said, the island. Well, he had promised to visit the island, which he kept yesterday, and is on tour, and they're expected to come up with a crime plan and present to the substantive Minister Fitzgerald Hines. Kind of confusing to me. I don't know that the minister is supposed to be coming up with a crime plan. But he can certainly visit to see what's happening. I thought that was the job of the commissioner and her deputies and police officials.
Mm-hmm.
Tobago has experienced 19 murders.
Yeah.
Scotland and Harewood say they are ready to win the war against crime in Tobago. When I was at the barber shop yesterday, there was a gentleman who was seemingly from Tobago, but he had worked in Tobago as an officer many years ago. He was one of the barbers. He's a former police officer. And he said what is surprising, he was saying what was surprising to him was the increase in car robberies in Tobago. He said, which was unheard of in the past, because when you take the car away, you go in Tobago small. But he said what had been happening, because when a car was stolen, when he was an officer, the first place they would go was to the port.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, you have to get the car off the island immediately. He said, but he's surprised that there has been an increase in car thefts in Tobago. And he was not also surprised by the increase in crime. He said, because a lot of the time when he was an officer, back in the day, there was crime, not at the level it is now, but somehow news of the crime in Tobago was suppressed because they did not want to turn off potential visitors to the island. So they kind of suppressed a lot of the information about crimes, robberies, and break-ins home. But he said, even with that said, it still wasn't like it is now. So, what are you going to do? So we hope they get a handle on that sooner rather than later. Speaking of which, we're not the only island grappling with crime, or the only islands grappling with crime. Peter Lewis is sending me a message and saying the computer is not connecting. So those of you who may not be getting us on METV, we apologize. So he's trying to work out. Apologies to those of you trying to connect on METV this morning and the various cable channels. They're working on the issue. Jamaica had a horrible drive-by shooting Sunday night.
They did?
Where 8 people, including an 8-year-old boy, was killed. Really tragic story, to say the least.
8 people is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Including an 8-year-old boy. Let me pull up the story again for you to get the details. I lost the page somehow. Bear with me.
Yeah. Ian Lee says, yes, rain for so last night, windy and rough seas. Oh, really? Okay. Okay. In case I'm watching a live cam of some kids, they're beginning to get some serious rain. And it's windy.
Yeah.
We're on METV now. Just letting you know. Hold on, Paul. They just switched on to METV. So there you go, David Wares. Mrs. Wares could watch us now. Go ahead, Paul.
Right. 8 people were killed in Jamaica. Well, this story is reporting a 7-year-old boy, but the other stories are reported it's an 8-year-old boy. And 9 others injured in a mass shooting in Clarendon on Sunday. They were at a bingo party when gunmen opened fire. The baby is also said to be hospitalized.
Jeez.
The Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, condemned the shooting, called an emergency National Security Council meeting on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
He condemned the reprehensible, brutal, and senseless attack and extended condolences to the families of those who lost loved ones. He said the Jamaican state will not countenance such savagery and will respond strongly. So it seems to be a trend, unfortunately. They have not had a motive presented, identified for the shooting. What a world we live in now.
I know. There was an overnight shooting here in Trinidad, too.
Well, a woman lost her life.
That is
57
one
year-old
sad story.
Mala Budram of Princestown
Mm-hmm.
lost her life. She was 57 years old. A mentally ill man who was known to her, who was apparently diagnosed and on medication at one point, had stopped taking his medication, which the relatives say they suspect is part of the issue, because they said once he took his medication, he was quote unquote a good person. But there was an issue with the internet, which he apparently paid. The victim went downstairs, it's a 2-story dwelling place, and asked about the internet, which was disconnected. The suspect, who is 32 years old and works at WASA, flew into a rage and started beating her. She was found with blood in her mouth and bruises on her body. The suspect took a bath, changed his clothing, and went and sat down, and then called him and said she had a heart attack.
That's another sad story. Let's look
Very,
for some
very sad
good
story.
news. Yes.
You know, when I was in driving around, I really saw a lot of people in New York with masks. Well, the CDC is quoting from a wastewater data set, which indicates that more than half of US states are reporting very high levels of COVID-19 activity. And this is summer, as the virus continues to spread and increase in many parts of the United States. 27 states are reporting what they describe as very high levels of COVID-19, although the testing is down significantly. So I guess if testing was even more pervasive, you would have even more higher reports. 17 states are reporting high, 27 high, which means most of the states in the US are reporting high COVID-19 viral activity. Western, California, etc., Midwestern, which is Michigan, etc., and Northeast, New York, Philadelphia, are reporting high case levels. Because they dismantled a lot of the surveillance systems which were in effect before the pandemic was, the official pandemic was stopped. There's a lot less testing now. Surveillance systems have diminished and people are not required to test or report their illness. So people just think it's the flu, but it's COVID-19 rearing its ugly head in the US significantly again. Genetically similar variants, including KP311 and KP3, currently make up almost half of the estimated cases. The CDC is recommending anyone over the age of 6 months update their vaccination status. And on the flight, and in the airport, I also saw quite a few people wearing masks.
Did you travel when your flight you wore a mask?
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Absolutely not. But they were mostly, well, 1 or 2 not so elderly, but they were mostly elderly people who had on masks. You know? And so, if you're traveling to and from the US, be aware. When I came back, there seems to be a plume of Saharan dust because I started getting sinus irritation upon landing and through yesterday. So I'd been sneezing a lot. And it's not the flu. And see, I keep scratching my eye. My eyes are irritated, which I presume is a Saharan dust plume. But there's also an adverse level effect, if I'm not mistaken. Is that so?
I'm checking now.
Is he hearing me?
Yeah.
So, if you all are traveling to the US or traveling from the US or are in the US, please take the necessary precautions because COVID is rising again in the US. They did say it would become seasonal like every other flu. you know. And I don't know what the state of Trinidad and Tobago's testing is, but I guess we could check in with the Minister of Health and see. Did he ever get back to you when he would be able to
No,
come on?
no.
Well, you could reach out to him again. He's quite a busy gentleman.
Could do that. As I said, Minister of Health. Massey stores Trinidad to sell in-store pharmacy assets to Super Farm Limited.
What?
Yeah. Massey stores Trinidad to sell in-store pharmacy assets to Super Farm Limited. Customers to benefit from specialized service and an enhanced customer experience.
What? Super Farm getting on, boy?
They're getting on. I think they just opened a branch in Aranguez.
Super Farm around. Where's where?
I think it's on the Glenwood now. So we did the
Well, I know the last branch I knew was on the main road in St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, yeah.
So now there would be a branch in West
think-
Mall,
yeah.
by West Mall there, a branch in the Valsign, a branch in Central
Trin City.
City. There's where Trin City branches.
Pretty much opposite Eastgate.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Is there a branch? Is it a branch in San Fernando that you know about?
Not that I know of. Let me just check.
I'm sure there's a branch in San Fernando somewhere, but I've never seen it. If someone knows of a Super Farm branch in San Fernando, please let us know in the chat. What? Could you send me that story, please?
I thought I did, I really thought I did.
Terrence Brown is saying he's in the US since June and observed the mask business only yesterday. When you say you got it, Terrence, did you get COVID or did you get a mask? There's one in Diego Martin across from KFC. Daniel is reporting.
Well, let me send this for you too.
Super Farm Gulf City, yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Andrew
yes.
and Simba. So Super Farm is expanding significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And with the acquisition, or according to Steve's report, of the in-pharmacy at some Massey stores, it's not in all. There are no pharmacies in all.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite interesting. In how old Super Farm is? About 10 years? Just over 10, 15 years? They're certainly moving to become the country's, if not already, premier pharmacy chain, and one coming to South Park in San Fernando. Or he got why masks were being worn. Okay, so he started wearing masks. Okay, Terrence, thanks. Yeah, I saw a lot of masks wearing in New York, and I said, why are people going back wearing masks again? I couldn't. And in JFK, and also a couple of people on the flight, but mostly elderly people. I am not so inclined to decide to stress out myself without masking again. I got 3 COVID-19 vaccines, and
yeah, I got 3 as well.
hold right there. Shall we open the phones?
We can do that. I'm looking for the Super Farm thing. I know you found it. Bobby sent it for me.
Richard was resting after he had a play on the weekend, David.
At his age, he needs to rest.
He is 372 years old, so in his native planet's age measuring mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the lines are open. I have quite an interesting conversation from Brian Lewis. Yes, Brian is a repository of great sober knowledge and thinking. And he's right. The sporting governing bodies are a large part of the problem when it comes to the administration of sport at the developmental level. But we always go back to this example. And I remember when I was at Hillview, and let's just use the football, college's football, intercall as an example, and how popular intercall was. Of course, this is many decades ago, when intercall as a sport, when the whole school used to come out and support, and then when your school get knocked out, you support a school in your general vicinity.
Yeah.
And matches used to sell out all over the country for intercall finals. If it's at the stadium, you used to have a almost full stadium, and even that has diminished. Netball, Trinidad and Tobago was a powerhouse netball country at one time, with Gene P and others having attained global superstar status in netball. We used to beat everybody in netball.
Yeah.
We produced some of the best footballers at a point, but that development also has fallen off. There was a time when Southern Games, N3A Games, what's the other one? Pan American Games were very popular in Trinidad and Tobago, and garnered a lot of support. You know, there's an organization whose name I shall not call, but we recently approached them with a proposal to create profiles, and this is since February. We had 2 meetings with the organization to create profiles, for them to partner with us to create profiles to raise awareness about the athletes who were at that time on their journey to qualification for Olympics. Because we wanted to, through our 2 other sister frequencies, Boom and Lit, create these video and audio profiles to play, to get particularly younger people acquainted with the names of the athletes who were on their way to qualification for Olympics. And they never got back to us till a month before Olympics, at which point it was too late. We were trying to get access to the athletes to do interviews and create these profiles which we could flood on social media and play back on the air, so everyone would know who was representing us. They would raise this chorus of support. But of course, they took March, April, May, June, and they got back to us after we kept calling in July, at which point it was too late because the athletes were all over the place and it was just difficult to coordinate at that point. So very often the media tries to do stuff behind the scenes, and the powers that be, let me put it like that, are less inclined to cooperate. And I shall not call the organization's name.
All right. We do have some calls, Paul, so let's get him. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Dr. Paul. I see that the Minister of National Security, Keith Scotland, SC, is making rounds and making a lot of promises to governors and the governors, businessmen with the those, what do you call these people, who extortionists, and in Tobago. But okay, you're making your promises and you'll do this, you'll do that, you'll do. But I hear you promise nothing for Trinidad. Is it because that part of it is much larger? Because, you know, you just don't, I find personally, he's promising what we'll do. I will do this. That will be a thing of the past kind of way. That crime will just stop just so because they promised certain things. I don't think that is the way you should be going about it. And don't make promises, because Earl and Christopher made promises for 100 days to get the crime done, the murders, and flopped. So, you know, those politicians like to make too much promises and telling you this, telling you that. And when it comes to zilch, I don't know what they could say after that. So, you know, you'll just lose confidence in them. So, Mr. Keith Scotland, just do what you have to do and stop the promising. Maybe you're not the one to go and arrest or extortion. The police have work to do. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, sweet bread. Thank you. Good morning.
Marjorie, yes, I'm talking about all local athletes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, guys. Good morning to our listeners and viewers.
Yes. So I think I want to endorse the point that Brian made yesterday about the sporting bodies. And I think one of the challenges we have in terms of our sporting bodies is the fact that they are run by volunteers. right? And in some instances, yes, they may have good intentions, but the time dedicated to the sport, one, the capabilities and the expertise may be limited. And sometimes you may even have, not me, because I have experienced this personally. There are some NSOs where the persons in charge feel they have the divine right to remain in charge of those NSOs, sometimes to the detriment of the sport. So that is one of the major challenges that we have. So I think I just wanted to share that.
I think you're right, because one of the issues is capacity building. And I think maybe the Ministry of Sport has programs where the officials, particularly the young officials, because it's usually a democratic system.
They do, but they don't attend.
They don't attend.
They don't attend.
Because I tell you, I'm working with a football division executive, newly appointed recently, and they asked me for help. And I was telling them that even as a body, you need to create a vision statement, a mission statement, a strategic plan.
And you have to have succession planning.
And they really, and to be fair to them, they realized they didn't know what I was talking about, and they were seeking help and support in getting those things organized. And now that they understand the importance of it, they are very enthusiastic about creating vision statement, mission statement, strategic plan, financial plan to go to sponsors, so that when they go to sponsors, the sponsors see that they're organized at a particular level and they have a governance structure. But they really, to be fair, they didn't know anything about those things.
Right, and sometimes it's run by well-intentioned persons, or sometimes parents who have their own ambitions for their children and so on, and they remain in the NSOs. And these are some of the things that are limiting, because I remember being part of one, I wouldn't call it many years ago. And the general secretary of the said NSO, every year his child used to get picked to go to tournaments, and his child was not anywhere close to being, let's put it this way, it was to the detriment of other persons. So some of these things are what is.
Well, remember the bacchanal a couple of years ago with the gymnast Tamer Williams.
Hello.
Remember the bacchanal with the gymnast Tamer Williams, who was clearly the talented person, and because somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
Yeah, I remember that.
Who she was left out of an Olympic opportunity because somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. Yeah.
And just permit me quickly to say one other thing concerning specifically with reference to Jareem. Yes, I have been hearing some very unfortunate things about we embracing mediocrity and so on. But people need to remember something. The last Olympics, Jareem Richards ran 200 meters, the 200 meters and the 4x4. In the 200 meters, he made the final. He placed 8th, I believe. And then a significant decision was made for him to focus on the 400, which paid dividends almost immediately. He won the World Indoor 400. All that to say is that there has been development over the period of time.
Yes.
Well, I don't know how anyone can associate the efforts of people like Jareem Richards and his colleagues with mediocrity. Because you don't win a medal, that doesn't mean you're mediocre.
Yeah, people who are not in the sport. So I'm saying that to say that there has been, if you watch Jareem's development over time, right, and where the times Jareem was running at least 2 years ago compared to where he is now, you're seeing the development, and it's greater things to come from that young man.
Yeah, I think so, and great things have come from him in the past. So I'm not. Whoever wrote that article that whoever referenced it yesterday is clearly just opening them out and bumping the gum, because I mean, even though our athletes did not medal, I think many of them really represented us very, very well and did a lot to promote Trinidad.
They're very young, so they'll be around for a while.
Yeah.
If we keep them together and do the right things.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Just a little traffic note. If you're coming out of Santa Cruz in the vicinity of the Blinder School, there are 2 trees that fell on the roadway. Fire crews are on the scene. but they have cut for one lane thus far. All right.
Lester, just before you take the call, Steve, Lester Craig, what is saying? We're at a disadvantage when we have almost half the population showing no interest in sport. Part of that is the ability of the media to do more to promote the games. Because if you notice, if you read American newspapers state by state, generally, the only time we see a front page of sporting story is not on the back page, and so there's a big difference between a front page and a back page when newspapers are on the shelf waiting to be bought.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at New York newspapers, they will opt for New York Red Sox beat New York Yankees every time there's a big match, as opposed to 6 murders in Brooklyn. It is a conscious decision by newspapers to promote sports. And when the networks do things like Monday Night Football to encourage the population to look at football on Monday night, a lot of it has to do with marketing efforts and focused marketing efforts in particular sporting disciplines and for particular sporting efforts, and not sporadic or when we're heading up to a game. So a lot of it, because sport is like everything else, it needs marketing and promotion. To be fair, I think the last couple of football matches that we had at the stadium were pretty well subscribed, if I'm not mistaken. Would that not be true?
I am not sure. But
Yeah,
I saw some
usually-
half and three-quarter full stadium.
But I remember too, Paul, that a lot of those the marketing that you're talking about for sports in the United States comes from those big bodies that promote and have all sorts of deals with huge sponsors that propel that marketing.
But Richard,
Contacts a lot of the time you're depending on the government to fund.
But even at a local level like Jamaica, and even state by state or places by places in the US. I went to a hockey game over the last couple of days in a little village, and the little stadium was full. So yes, I get your point. You're right. You're absolutely right. But it also depends on people pushing the little community games and the village games to have people coming out. So a lot of it has to do with the media doing their part, and also corporate Trinidad and Tobago sponsoring advertising campaigns. And not only when they ask you to bring them a gold medal, you see a big front page or a pull-out on the athlete with the logo next to them.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning.
Paul, I agree with you. When the neighborhood games, the games in the community are held, a lot of people don't attend. But when they reach to the Olympics, they want all the gold out in the Olympics. It don't work so. It starts from your village. Right. Let me move on. I want to know what the Commissioner of Police is waiting on to get her officers to use that body cam. Every time there's a murder, there's a police shooting, we didn't have no gun. The police shoot we. Good Lord. If you get your officers to use use the body cam, there will be no reason for that. There was a shooting in the United States where the officer went into this apartment, told the lady, take off the stove with some water. She was boiling in a pot. And next thing, the woman gets shot. He did not have on his body cam. You know, his colleague body cam was on and they got the entire footage.
Yeah, we spoke about that a couple of weeks ago.
That's what we're talking about, Commissioner Police. Get the officers to use the body cam. And I'm waiting to hear Khadijah Amin respond, because I know if it was 3 boys of African descent that the police had killed, she would have said, you see what I tell you? Them is who was terrorizing the neighborhood. Not one word from Khadijah Amin up to now. The narrative has changed, right? So, and I'm saying, what's her name? Whitney Husbands will not be chastised when she read the headlines. Well, I see they didn't have no program. They had a rerun. But she wouldn't be chastised by that caller when she said what she said. You'll have a blessed day.
Thank you. Ragoobarsingh, do you have papers?
Yes, I do, actually. Yeah. Should I start it now?
Thank you so much. We appreciate that greatly, sir.
All right. So the Daily Express for today, and of course today is Tuesday, August 13th. Please help these boys. That's the headline. Hungry runaway teens show up at Port of Spain office. Police Children's Authority failed to respond. Please help these boys, and that's front page of the Express. Flooded out. There's some scenes of some flooding that would have taken yesterday. And mentally ill man kills woman. That's the front page of the Daily Express. And on the back page, pump problems. It's news. Also on the back page, obviously, the Daily Express is taking the decision to put news on the back page and on sports. So this is separate. There's about a third or fourth time I've seen them do that. So pump problems, it's more pictures on the flood and flood stories. And on if you're looking at sports, I have to actually go into the page, into papers. Culture change, Jareem calls for more support and less harsh judgment. That's one of the main sports stories in the Express today. Newsday, front page. Mother of woman, 21, killed by police. Cop made threat to my daughter. The main picture is that of, an image of flooding. I'm not so sure where this is. Left high and dry. A stalled car abandoned by the driver after they attempted to drive through the water.
This is it, Richard.
Where is this in Morva?
This is one of them yesterday, anyway.
Oh, wow.
That's St. Augustine.
Okay, I didn't see that one. That's scary for the driver.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God. Yeah. New broom can sweep away crime. See page 11. I'm not so sure what that means. And on the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, Olympians Roger Daniel and Jonathan Farina had lack of support. TT sporting talent wasting away, and Bradford rain stopped West Indies victory. The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. Front page. Query over unpaid bill sparks brutal attack by relative. Mom 57 beaten to death, and that's an absolutely tragic story. With suspected links to mental health issues. WASA promises full return of supply by today, and PCA probing triple police-involved killings. All of that is on the front page of The Guardian. And on the back page, Graves steps down as West Indies CEO. And the main pictures of a cycling event. And that's it for the 3 dailies this morning. So now you know.
All right. Thank you so much, Richie Rich. Let's get the results of our... this mouse is really beginning to give some trouble. All right. Let's get the results of our morning poll. We asked you, do you think the Minister of Sport is an effective minister? Results are in. 88%, 88 said no.
So my question this morning, or our question this morning, since we asked about the minister yesterday, is based on the one of the stories Richard read and our conversation about private sector support. Is
are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports and our young athletes in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. Are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports and our young athletes in TNT? What do you think? That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on our web and other streaming platforms. You can WhatsApp us at 318-1021, or if you're watching us on M&E TV, 318-1021, 318-1021. That's the WhatsApp number. But you can call us and you can send your comments via the messaging portals on streaming platforms.
Because the media and private sector have significant roles to play also.
Yeah.
Vianney Warwood says no. Cheryl Henry, no. David Wares, no. Marsha Lorraine Walker, no. Oscar Daniel, no. Gregory Bauer, no. All right. Good morning to you, Beauty Culture.
Candice is saying that the Ministry of Sport is having a press conference at 1:30 today. I must suspect it's to deal with the Olympics team. And I guess I congratulate the athletes officially.
Yeah, I guess. Captain Ron says no. Val says no. Anthony from Toronto says no. Jaron, no. Yeah. Oops. All right, let's grab this call. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. No.
Okay. Good morning. What's your vote? Okay. So are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports and our young athletes in Trinidad and Tobago? That's our poll this morning. What do you think? What's your opinion?
Esther says no. Rena Bodie Jennings, no. Ish out in Malik, no. CJ New York, no.
But as I told you earlier on, I tried for us to do something, and it was extremely difficult to get cooperation from the organization to give us access to the athletes and partner with us to do profiles, to raise the profiles of the athletes. It was like we sent a whole proposal presented. They were enthusiastic, and they just took forever to get back to us. So that's the other side of it.
Yeah. Adonna Clark says no. Lester Craigwell, no. Candice Pascal.
And I have all the receipts. All the receipts.
Julia S. Batiste, no. Dandy Piggott, not at all. Morning, pal.
Just smiling smirkingly there.
Jean Clark, no. Keegan Barrett, no. Von Drayton, no. Beauty Culture, no.
But I think it's frustrating and discouraging, disheartening. Because one of the things they said, well, we don't know who qualifying yet. We said we don't care. Even if they don't qualify, we want to raise their profile. You understand? It didn't matter to us. Once they were on the journey to qualification, we wanted to do interviews.
Good morning to Vincent in UK. Let's see. Carol Guevara, absolutely not. Slick Money Grip, no. Beefy Smith, Goodwood, Tobago, no. All right. 222-8255. North Americans toll free 866-525-1099. Junior says no. On Facebook, on WhatsApp, on YouTube. Are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports and our young athletes in Trinidad and Tobago? Royalty Forever says no.
How many front pages did we get during the Olympic coverage? I think we got the Dream that I remember. Do you remember any other?
We got the one with come to a crashing halt when the cyclist crashed.
We got that one. We didn't get when he was going to qualify or qualified for rounds. We got the Dream. And I'm trying to remember if the audience knows of any other front page we got in terms of our athletes' aspirations in Paris. Please let me know. But I only remember Jerim. Maybe there were others I didn't see.
They had one about Kishon too.
And Kishon.
Yeah.
But remember, we had 17 athletes there.
Evans David, no.
We had some coverage on Michelle Yayi with her statements, but only with the controversial statements, not her run in her aspirations or her qualification rounds. You understand? So Bacchanal, yes. No bacchanal? No. As I said before, when you look at the front page of the New York Times or the Washington Post, once there's a big sporting thing in the area, they go with that on the front page. Red Sox win, Yankees lose. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad, we tried with games before that too. So try your best. Not only Olympic Games we tried. I'm just giving that example. Ma'am or sir.
Yeah. Lenroy Cunningham says no.
We tried with the national football team too when they were going through qualification rounds. Anyway, such is life.
Such is life.
You get some cricket headlines that sometimes come across the front
But
page.
yeah, cricket, you get some cricket headlines.
Yeah. Howard says no.
So are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports and our young athletes in TNT? That's our poll this morning. What do you think? That's what we want to know via our poll this morning. 222 Talk, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app, send your votes via the messaging portals. And of course, if you're listening to us on smart devices and streaming platforms.
Yeah, all the ridiculous responses come now. Raise the profiles of our budding sporting athletes in primary and secondary schools. Which ones? Tell me.
M&E TV, you can WhatsApp us at
It's like,
1021.
Proper decent argument.
Esther Adams says no. All right. Are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports in our young athletes in TNT? Yes or no? All right. Someone says most definitely no. That's Lennox McKnight. All right. Thank you, Lennox. Have a good day. Eve out in Sugarguanas says no. Morning, Eve. All right. Once again, if you're coming from Santa Cruz, there are 2 trees that fell on the roadway. The fire service are on the scene. They have cleared for 1 lane. I guess they'll clear the lanes the other side shortly. All right. Let's see. Andre says nope. Thank you, Andre. Did I do Hanif Daniel saying no?
I don't remember, so.
What? The U.S. athletes representing Trinidad have profiles, so I got you, Dr. Paul. Okay. All right, so we have towards 7 o'clock news. You have like less than a minute to vote. Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Here we go. Right. Let's see. Of course, our morning poll will stay up on our website at power102fm.com and our mobile app, which you should have by now. All right? You should.
I'll be here, Van. Not going to respond. It's 7 o'clock in Trinidad today. Good morning to all you good people. Thank you for joining us this morning on all our various platforms. Power 102 Digital app, our website, METV, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn.
All right. I think I covered all there. Let's get into our 7 o'clock major news. AV is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
A report to be presented to the National Security Minister on the crime situation in Tobago. A mentally ill man is in police custody following the murder of a 57-year-old woman yesterday. HDC addresses misinformation regarding its eviction exercise in San Fernando. Prime Minister Andrew Holness of Jamaica condemns a gun attack which left 8 dead, including an 8-year-old boy. And more than half of U.S. states report a very high levels of COVID activity. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Senthil Bab. Good morning. A report will be presented to National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines about the crime situation in Tobago and what is needed to address it. It will follow an effort by the Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Keith Scotland, and Commissioner of Police, Earl Haywood Christopher, over the next 2 days to boost the confidence of Tobago officers while mending relationships within communities across the island. At the end of the tour of Tobago, a rigorous crime plan will be finalized and implemented. Yesterday, Scotland kept his promise to visit the island to get a first-hand understanding of the unprecedented crime situation occurring. He was joined by Haywood Christopher and other officials as they visited all police stations in Tobago and met with officers. The Minister and Commissioner of Police also met with residents and relatives of people who lost their lives to gun violence in Tobago, including relatives of Tobago's quadruple murder victims in Black Rock. A mentally ill man is now in police custody following the murder of a woman yesterday. The man allegedly beat 57-year-old Marla Budram to death at her Cleghorn Village Princestown home. Relatives were in shock after Budram was found dead with marks of violence about her body. The suspect, who was arrested at the scene, works at the Water and Sewage Authority in San Fernando. According to investigators, around 11:40 a.m., Budram went downstairs to ask the suspect why he had disconnected the internet, which she paid for on a monthly basis. It is believed that the suspect flew into a rage and started beating her. Budram's sister, Omati Basdio, said after the attack, the 32-year-old suspect took a bath and changed his clothes. While sitting at the house, he called them to say Budram had suffered a heart attack. She was found with blood in her mouth and bruises on her body, Basdio said. The suspect reportedly has a history of mental illness, but was said to have stopped taking his medication. Budram, a mother of 2, worked in a roti shop and often catered for her neighbors. The Trinidad and Tobago Housing Development Corporation says no demolition has taken place at the Rushworth Street site. HDC explains the site is intended for a new housing development in which affordable houses will be constructed for citizens. It says notices were served to unlawful occupants on July 22nd, 2024, with the expectation those with legitimate claims of tenure would provide written evidence. To date, no proof of tenure and/or official documents have been submitted to the HDC to legitimize their complaints or claims. Occupants residing at Steve Archibald Street, San Fernando, were also evicted from their structures. However, the HDC was informed on August 9th, 2024, they had re-entered their respective buildings due to claims of having land titles. HDC officials conducted a site visit on Monday and observed no structures were demolished, adding the unlawful occupants had re-entered their former structures since last Thursday. This Rushworth Street site is intended for a new housing development in which affordable houses will be constructed for citizens. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Trinidad and Tobago-born President of the United Nations General Assembly, Dennis Francis, says the 15-nation Caribbean community, or CARICOM, will have to resolve differences among their members on Venezuela's elections. Leaders of the independent members of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines have congratulated Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro on his re-election. The UN General Assembly President says CARICOM will have to address their different positions on the matter. Francis spoke with the media recently on the issue, making it clear the UN respects the stance taken by each regional country or CARICOM on this development.
If member states of the OECS have come out in support of the government of Venezuela, so be it. That's a fait accompli. The UN can have no difficulty with that, and we don't. That is their right. That is a consequence of the fact that they are independent. And if others in CARICOM see it differently, that too is their right. But this is not an issue for the UN. This is an issue that CARICOM would have to resolve among itself if indeed there is to be any common approach to Venezuela.
Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has condemned the Clarendon gun attack, which left at least 8 people dead, including an 8-year-old boy and 9 others injured on Sunday night, calling it reprehensible, brutal, and senseless. Prime Minister Holness spoke out against the development.
It is an unfortunate and brutal incident, one that I think borders on terrorism, because I think this act is to instill fear and to intimidate the community. The police is committed to ensure that justice is done, and we are using all our resources to ensure that the perpetrators are found and face justice. We are at an early stage of our investigation. The scene is currently being processed.
More than half of U.S. states are reporting very high levels of COVID activity as the virus continues to spread and increase in many parts of the country, according to the latest wastewater data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. At least 27 states are reporting very high levels, and 17 states are reporting high levels of wastewater viral activity. The Western region continues to see the highest levels, followed by the South, Midwest, and Northeast, respectively. Many national surveillance systems have diminished in scope since the national public health emergency ended, leaving authorities with limited resources to monitor how the virus is spreading. Genetically similar variants known as KP.3.1.1 and KP.3 currently make up almost half of estimated cases, CDC data shows. The CDC has already recommended that everyone over the age of 6 months get an updated COVID vaccine this season. The recommendation will take effect as soon as the vaccines are made available, pending FDA authorization. Well, finally, here's weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, variably cloudy with a few showers and the medium chance of the isolated heavier shower or thunderstorm. Nighttime will be generally fair despite the isolated shower. Gusty winds and street or flash flooding and frequent lightning can occur in or near heavy showers or thunderstorms. Trinidad and Tobago is under an adverse weather alert yellow level. And the Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service is continuing to monitor potential tropical cyclone 5, which has now developed into tropical storm Ernesto. On its current track, the system should not directly impact Trinidad and Tobago. You can expect a temperature high of 29 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 30 degrees Celsius at Crown Point, Tobago. Currently, it is 24 degrees Celsius at Piarco and 27 at Crown Point. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock. A report to be presented to the National Security Minister on the crime situation in Tobago. A mentally ill man is in police custody following the murder of a 57-year-old woman yesterday. HDC addresses misinformation regarding its eviction exercise in San Fernando. Prime Minister Andrew Holness of Jamaica condemns a gun attack which left 8 dead, including an 8-year-old boy. And more than half of U.S. states are reporting very high levels of COVID activity. I'm Avril Sintil-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. You can join her again. Come at 8 o'clock this morning for our news brief. All right. Traffic-wise, we got some leaving San Fernando heading towards Point of Pier. And then we've got traffic again from Cuba towards Chicagonas. East-West corridor, usual stuff by Trinidad City, but and going to Valsain and Aranguez, you've got some, but you'll pick up some heavier traffic getting into the capital. Eastern Main Road, not too bad at this time. All right. And don't forget that 2 trees that fell down by the blind school in that vicinity. The fire services have cut to clear 1 lane thus far. All right. Okay, so let's see if we have any more votes. Wayne Joseph says no. Okay. And Okay. All right. And that's what I've got so far. Charlotte Henry is saying, oh gosh, I hope the US will start this vaccination to travel again. Okay. All right, Rich. So there you go. Just got one more new.
Okay. So, well, we had 37 people voting on the poll this morning, and our poll this morning was, are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports and our young athletes in Trinidad and Tobago? We had 37 people today voting, and they all said no. So, in terms of that's
I certainly agree with the sentiment of the vote. I think a lot more can and needs to be done. And I mean, we asked the question of the Minister of Sport, yes, and the result I think was very mixed down the middle, if I'm not mistaken, right, Steve?
88% had said no.
Right. I don't think the sports ministry is doing enough.
Yeah.
Right. But then this one is even more definitive, because I don't think it falls to the Ministry of Sport alone, although the Ministry of Sport has obviously a very significant role to play in terms of sport policy and strategy and funding and infrastructure. But as Brian Lewis told us yesterday, a lot of it comes down to the local organizing groups, because the World Olympic governing body and football governing body, etc., and hockey, etc., are very clear about the interference of the state in the local administration of sport and how that comes about. And very often, as some of the callers said earlier on, it's not a matter of that they don't want, but they don't have the capacity, the organizational skills, the governance structures to understand or to administer these bodies, from identification of talent to development and nurturing of talent to moving into the higher ends of performance in the varying sporting disciplines. And I guess a different kind of conversation needs to be had now, because, and it's not only Trinidad, as well as Jamaica has performed, the same conversations are happening in Jamaica right now, because Jamaica didn't perform as well as they usually do.
Absolutely right on that.
At the Olympics. So I always see it as an opportunity to change things, and not only look at pointing fingers, because I mean, clearly we have the athletes, but the development phase and the succession planning is not what it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, after all and said and done, in small countries like ours, obviously the state has to do the bigger proportion in terms of looking at how that is managed. Even in bigger countries like China and Cuba and stuff, the state is heavily involved, because they look at the success of their athletes as prestige for the country.
Well, the world is watching. So every time you hear Trinidad and Tobago on a podium or in a race, it's millions and millions of dollars worth of advertising for the country in a positive manner.
Yep.
And that's why when one of the callers said yesterday that somebody wrote an article about why we're celebrating mediocrity. How is it mediocrity? They qualify for the Olympics. Qualifying for the Olympics is important. You understand? You may not have won a medal, but you were in a race and commentated. Some 80 odd countries are calling your country name, calling the athlete's name. So that is not mediocrity. Yes, we want to win medals, but how can you associate that representing a country at the level of the Olympics as mediocrity? Because you didn't win a medal? Really? That's a very narrow view of success. And yes, we want to win medals, but that's a very narrow view of success.
That's what I would say. It's a narrow view. It's a narrow view and perspective of how you see things.
Yeah.
See success, see the road to success. But that drive to win, a lot of times I know, people criticize us for that historically.
But to qualify,
a lot of our athletes have done so well over the years.
But to me, even because not everybody who tries, not every country who tries qualifies, There are benchmarks for qualification for the Olympics that are very high, So to even qualify for the quarterfinal round and the semifinal round and making the final, are also successful endeavors. And even the qualifying stages of many of those prestigious marquee events like the athletics or whatever it is, they are promoting Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, we want them to win. Yes, we want them to medal. But just the fact that they've qualified, because they spend their whole life. I remember with Cleopatra Burrell, and you literally dedicate your whole life, to honing your craft and qualification. I mean, just take Keishan Walker. He's 7th in the world. Yes, we want him to medal, and he has 2 Olympic medals under his belt, a gold and a bronze, 2. So when he walks onto that tarmac, or not the tarmac, the field, and the world said that's double Olympic medalist from Trinidad and Tobago, Keishan Walker, the youngest ever to win an Olympic gold in the javelin event. What do you think they're doing for Trinidad and Tobago? It's promoting us in an extremely positive light around the world. So how can that be mediocrity? Fool. Open the phone lines now.
Yeah. All right. 222-8255. North Americans toll free 866-525-1099.
People who never get off the chain, or the Olympic sport is remote control, and change channel.
Yeah. All right.
Beauty culture. Which video was that? The show yesterday. We ain't do nothing back in the show. We behaving these days.
Yeah, we didn't do anything yesterday.
What video we showed in the show yesterday? We have a copyright infringement.
Yeah. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Atlanta, Georgia. How are you guys?
No, it's Atlanta, Georgia.
My last name is Pascal, like the restaurant, the famous restaurant here in Atlanta.
You are Candice?
Yes.
Okay, hi
Candice. Pastel?
Yeah.
You mean like what we get wrapped in a leaf during Christmas time in Trinidad and Tobago? Not the famous restaurant in Atlanta. When people here in Trinidad think of pastel, you know what we think about?
Yes, the famous Atlanta. My husband, family members own that restaurant. Yes.
Send food.
Yeah. Well, when you come, we'll go.
All right, no problem.
So, Dr. Paul, you are correct. One thing I want to say is that we don't have a lot of support, because I go to a lot of the games. We travel with our teams and so forth, because I have friends whose kids run, and you don't see a lot of support for Trinidad and Tobago athletes besides us, like his friends or family and so forth. In regards to Mr. Walker, he didn't even qualify, but because of his status, you understand, he was 6th in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He went in. You understand? And given his situation in the last year, to me, he did well. All our athletes did well. Zuri, that is a young swimmer coming up. She will do amazing things.
She will do amazing things. Yep.
Yes, I am looking forward to hear, and I thank you guys who, because whether or not we think people listening, the ministry listening, because for them to post that yesterday evening, I was like, okay, somebody listened yesterday to either Power 1 or 2 or something, because I want to hear what they have to say, because it has to do with the Olympics, right? And yes, I understand the ministry part and role to play in it. I understand the media and the business, but I realize a lot of people don't even know the athletes. You know what I'm saying? So that the media even know. It's only late on I realized in Trinidad when the media starts talking about our athletes, but our athletes, especially from the diaspora, we know about them. We know about them during their track and field. Because again, like Paul said, we go to games since they're in middle school, high school, so we've been following them since they start running at a very young age. We don't, for some reason in Trinidad, it's no longer like that anymore. I grew up in Trinidad. I was in track and field, I was in netball, and the community support is very low right now. I don't know why. I'm no longer there. But we need to really understand there's more to life than just academics. Not all everybody is academically sound. There is performing arts, there's technology, there's track and field. So we really got to please push it. Please continue to push it because these kids are our future. Please.
All right. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I must say, for athletes to reach Olympics, it's tough. To be an athlete in Trinidad is tough. Because I remember my grandson riding at 5 in Skinner's Park and coming first every time. He wasn't even getting any airtime, none whatsoever. And cycling is a very expensive sport. And
How
it's not until
expensive a bike is?
Yeah, I bought a bike for $15,000, the one that you could lift with one finger.
Mm-hmm.
It's very expensive. And when he left here, I think he left at between 7 and 9, and went to Canada, and he was just playing around with the bike, and Ontario picked him up. He ended up being Ontario finest. It's just COVID that licked him up. He come out of the game. But when he went there, they put him in a place. He was getting fed, and his lessons was coming home and stuff like that. But here he wasn't getting anything. It was just the family and probably a neighbor or something. So we need to really back these children, not only when they're going abroad or when they come back. While they're here, the village supposed to be backing them up. Everybody's supposed to chip in. He was fine when he left here and went to Canada. Yes?
Yeah.
And he was about to cut Hugo Tail, the Ontario finest, and he ended up Ontario finest. So we need to help them from small, not to wait until they go and then hear who complaining about they didn't bring in a medal. You can't even do what they do or which way they reach. Why people so? Why Trinidadians so? Good grief. At least
right.
they did well. They did well.
Yeah. Lots of calls. Good morning.
Morning, Steve again, and Paul.
Morning.
Richard, good morning. Okay, so not only the athletic program, sports on the whole. Do you know on Sunday there was a CONCACAF under 15 tournament where Trinidad and Tobago under 15 young ladies placed third. And in the interview, a post-match interview, one of the young ladies said that her mother brings her from Maruga to Port of Spain for training. She said it's a big sacrifice. And I'm certain those are not wealthy people, you know? So these corporate bodies in those areas, why they can't just assist the young people in the area just to have a case of water, transportation, and stuff like that? Because people, when you want to go to games, when they have big names, Jorim in the stadium, they come in. This one in the stadium come in. But how did Jorim reach there? He has to start from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to support the young people, because my daughter was in athletics, and when I go to the game, only parents and his immediate family. And the entrance is free, and yes, the people are coming.
Only you and your cousin Gil.
But I'm telling you, and I was I'm watching the event, but yes, I'm watching the empty stadium, and I'm saying, look at Trinidad now. Don't you want to come anything when it's big name people, and they're not supporting young people, corporate people not supporting nothing. And it is a big sacrifice of parents to be going to train, telling the children to train every day. It's a big sacrifice. And big splash in the news when they win something. They do as corporate bodies. But again, we as people, we have to attend the games now. Don't just blame them alone. So I'm not blaming corporate people and media. But we, not me, but I go. But people have to attend the games.
Miss Dabadi.
Yes? Paul?
Part of it is people knowing when the game is to. A lot of the times people don't have a clue the game going on, you know.
Well, if they're not interested.
No, it's not that they're not interested. You know, because your child involved. But if there's no advertising for the game or the advertising is sporadic, people just generally don't know.
Right. So the media now will have to get advertising from corporate sponsors. And corporate sponsors ain't giving them advertising because it has no
established person there.
Well, they're giving them when the person become a global star and they want to push the product and services.
They can't do it from up in the top. They have to do it from below for them to become a star. Now I am hoping these under 15 young ladies have under 17 tournaments coming up. I hope they are part of it because I know a girl in Aruka. She plays on the national team. I tell her I will help her out and so on because she has to travel to go for training. I said I will help you to be able to travel in money because I want to see her reach far. And it's so hurtful to see we have so much young talent and then the young men and some young women getting involved in unruly things.
No.
So much talent,
Now, to be fair, you have to congratulate corporate sponsors like First Citizens who have invested millions in the Sports Foundation,
Republic Bank,
the Sports Foundation. They are corporate sponsors who consistently invest in young people and in sport. So let's not say it's all there, but a lot more can be done.
But when we go down to the stadium, those are the same people we see over and over. You know what I mean? So it's time we stop only talking. Next 4 years, we go talk for the next 4 years and the same thing happens. And one final point if I hang up. I was trying to understand how come we not know it, we're not seeing who are these athletes. I saw these 4 young ladies who ran the 4x1, a twin and 2 others. I didn't know the names. I say, wait now, they running for Trinidad. I was surprised because we don't even know most of the athletes. You only know like the regulars.
Not for lack of trying.
I know, Paul. I know you say try, but that was only you alone. But we supposed to get bombarded with our team in the 70s.
Well, I don't know. Maybe other media houses also tried and encountered the same challenges. I don't know.
Corporate sponsorship. Anyway, have a wonderful day.
All right. Thanks, Sweet Bread. Have a good one. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Sorry about that. I was listening trying to listen while the phone is ringing. But I want to thank Paul for bringing up that point there that a lot of people just don't know when the sports is. That has been my situation several times. I hear about it the day after. I'm like, okay, that was sports was going on, and I have family members who run track for Trinidad and Tobago. It's just I just be unaware sometimes. They hear about it the day going on or after it happened when they see the news, things like that. So that is a perspective that some of the citizens go through. I want to talk about, is it okay to talk about something else?
Yes.
I want to talk about something that is a viral video that is going around. I didn't listen
but make it quick. I have a lot of calls, so go ahead.
I didn't know if I really spoke about it this morning, but the video involving social media influencer called TD47, where he got a traffic ticket for no headlights that clearly he did have. It needs some investigation. I don't know if you saw it. Any one of you all saw it?
I saw it, and he said, I think the title was "Wrong Ticket" viral video or something like that.
Right.
Where a ticket was attached to his vehicle. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But he said the premise of the ticket being attached was wrong and he was going to fight it in court. Would that be correct?
No, that is not the one. The one that I'm speaking about is when he was stopped at a roadblock.
By the lighthouse.
By the lighthouse. The first police inspected his headlights, gave him a thumbs up and tell him, go ahead. As he pulled off, the next police stopped him and gave him a ticket for broken headlights. And you could have seen the headlights through the reflection of the vehicle in front of him. You could have seen the headlights on the police pants. You could have clearly seen the headlights. The police refused to allow him to come out of the vehicle to show him the broken headlight. When he pulled up, when he finished the exercise and he got his ticket, and he pulled up a little higher up, his headlights were working. He made a video about it and showed that his headlights were working. The point I'm trying to make is that these police officers out here, when they send them out, they need some supervision. They need somebody that you could say, I want to see a supervisor, I want to see a corporal, a sergeant, or somebody to control these loose cannons that they have calling.
You're absolutely right.
All right?
I saw the video.
I'll leave it there, gentlemen.
Yeah. All right, buddy. All the best. Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, man, Steve and fellas, anything. Yeah, I agree with Richard with that statement that the state should have some kind of more responsibility in doing that. And I think it's incorrect that corporate people don't support in a sense. I think it's maybe how you support. All these little sports games are wrong in communities. When they get in the chubby and the water and all that kind of stuff, and then a lot of that, I think a lot of business people do support the community and stuff, and I think community do support, people throwing their barbecue to get the children. I just have a friend send her daughter to Guyana. They have to go. You should see the stress, to go, but she ended up and she won all her thing. But when you talk to them, and that's karate, when you hear the bacchanal in the internal sporting groups, it's amazing. I grew up in Trinity, Twin Grove, football, the league, and all those guys who get scholarships, who went on scholarships and had to drop out of the scholarships because they couldn't handle the academic part of it. So this thing about academic, that everybody going to be an academic, no, yeah, let's stop that and fuse it together, because sports is an academic game of philosophy, physical know-how, your body, biology is a science, right? So if you don't know the science properly, you ain't know your game properly. So that thing, and I think, but what the state's supposed to do is temper down and drive the philosophy, and organize and upgrade and handle and mediate. But
when you say drive the philosophy, Dean, what you mean is it the philosophy? Is it the philosophy connected to the education system that you're talking about? That sport is a valid career choice and path. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that part. I think that part as well. But the philosophy of what Paul Richard was talking about, with the sporting groups not having a goal and not having these intricate things in them, internal guidelines and philosophy guidelines that could push you as a sporting group further and more effectively. But yeah, what you was talking about, that philosophy of how sport as a culture within the education, which it is there, but can it be better? I always used to.
I don't know, because I know so many. I'm sure we all know people who excelled at sports in primary school and secondary school, and you thought they would become really good athletes for the country, and all of a sudden they go by the wayside and they're working in Republic Bank or wherever, and it's because
and I think that's fair enough. Fair enough.
And no, but what I'm saying is that because they didn't see it as a valid career option to earn a living. And a lot of those that don't stay here. They have to go to those bigger countries to get the proper coaching, etc., at least in their minds. They don't think they can do it here. Pretty much in a kind of way, in parallels to the performing arts sector, there is a similarity, there a mirror, that you figure you have to go abroad, where you figure you will be more appreciated for your talent, and where your talent is going to be honed and you're going to get the rewards for it.
Right. And now, why I talk about it? So if you're going away, that means these people who the ones who went on scholarships here, because coaches come down to look at them, and they look at them and say, you have a standard I could deal with, and I will give you a scholarship to come to my school to play football. Now, that was the time when football was new in America. Men was getting football scholarships was easy peasy, right? You go track and field, right? You can get scholarship easy. Middle America state schools putting you up on scholarships, getting you full scholarships and stuff. Now, the thing what I'm saying is that, okay, and you go because you have a standard. Now, that standard, and those guys will have peter out and they get their scholarships, come back here, and they're engineers, they think. So it's a valid career thing that you can get education. Some of them falter out the education, and now they're still either in New York and wherever. There are a lot of guys like that who peter out on the education. They ain't really peter as the sports. And that's the thing. Sports at a level of this thing we're talking about is a thing.
Yeah, but Dean, do you realize just by what you're saying, you're reinforcing the misnomer that sport is not education and sport is somehow extracurricular to education. When you say they peter out in the education, if the philosophy is right, sport is part of education, is a different discipline, that's all.
Right. Okay, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that here, that the and that was the time when, okay, because I have a thing in here, we need to fuse it as a sport is integrated differently or better or enhance it, that it is integrated into the overall community, education, and aspects of sport. So for the athlete, that when they do, if they decide that when you go to college and you go to the next level, and if you go to the other level, you handle your stories differently. My example of that is that, okay, you say that sports, like football in Texas, is really well regarded. You're born, you're a star. You could even make it to high school. But even in high school sport, you go to championship level and you win high school, like intercall, you are star till you die in that community, you know, because they hold you, they find a job, your career is, you settle in a community way because they embrace you. They embrace you as that because you have done good. You didn't go to no NFL and all that kind of stuff, but you're a star, you did well, that's what I'm saying. The peter out is that there is a community support system. We have seen our sports people peter out here, didn't decide, and they end up dwindling away because you be dwindled away. But you was a star in intercall, there was a star on the track and field, and you will hear the fellas here, but he was a real, look at him now, he walk in the streets, he doing the thing. So we just talking about 1% aspect of our sports, which is our Olympic thing. There are fellas here who drop dead on the ground for tennis players on the street, vagrant thing, you know, because we own you at one point and we dump you at another point, and we don't integrate.
You know, you're absolutely right. I interviewed a guy who was homeless on Independence Square about 3 years ago, and he was a national boxer. And he told me, he said,
yes,
I represent Trinidad and Tobago, and he's on the street homeless with his wife.
Right, and boxing, a lot of boxers,
Whatever happened to
a lot
them?
of sports people do fall hard, and they fall real hard because why? We honed them well at one point, but they didn't make sure that it was integrated. And that was why in NFL, in the sports, they started to integrate the academic, because a lot of NFL players and basketball players who got scholarships, they made movies and documentaries, fell to the side when you hit your knee break and all kind of thing, and you had to drop out of the thing. The scholarships get pulled, and they drop out of university, and they end up back into hard times because they think, and they had to change that because they used to promote sport as the thing to go, and a lot of people. So they have changed the whole academic, how you do well. So when you come out of the sports, if you fail, because it's only 1% people make it, and the rest of them, we peter and we go. But the thing was, even in the arts, Richard, like Jamaica artists are well known by galleries from coming out of art school, Edna Manley. Galleries in the States pick them up. They pick them up, and they could go straight into a career just from their thing, or they go straight into a teaching program, and they have valid career. Ebony Patterson, there's a whole list of Jamaican artists, visual artists who have done very well because of a high standard of their art. And I'm saying our standard may be high, maybe it could be higher. And how high we want it to be, that when you decide at Fatima or CIC, QRC, secondary, Mokarapo, and then you decide that I can make the Olympic team, that I have a quality to me then that the society will accept me for. And I think that quality, we have that in the sports person that we want to achieve, because even Olympians, if you don't get a job back in the States, they come back and work in the sports program here. A lot of them still struggle, even at an Olympian level, because they don't have other kind of because you had to come and live. You stop sports at 30, 20 something. You're a young person still, and they stop sports, and there's no career after. And if you're not really prepared. So this thing about the academic, not everybody can be academics. You gotta have something after your career done in this sports thing. And we have an Olympian sport to decide. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dean. 222-8255. Toll free North Americans, 866-525-1099. Of course, you can vote on our morning poll on our mobile app or our website. Are the media and the private sector doing enough to promote and support sports and our young athletes in Trinidad and Tobago? All right, that's our poll. Vote on it. Give you your final results tomorrow morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
I listened to Watson Duke yesterday on the television, talking on TV6, and he said this talk about gangs and gangs coming from Trinidad. He said, it ain't no gangs. He said, it's right here, the shooters are born. And I'm saying, what? Yes. He said, it's right here. He said, so that nonsense about gang coming up from Trinidad and thing, he said, they're homeborn right here. I forgot to talk about the two, well, they only found two. The two boys who left or run away from Rainbow Rescue, they found two. Well, not found two. Giselle said they came and they found her. And I'm saying, what? So I wait to see the investigation, where they were all this time and whatever, because I can't see if you in a comfortable home, you would leave and sleep, because she said they told her they were sleeping on the streets. And as I said before, I was affiliated to Rainbow Rescue since they were on Juningham Avenue. And the place, but then again, I was just a donor. I don't know what goes on in the night. And I'm saying something had to make those boys run away.
Those are the boys that are on the front page of the Daily Express this morning. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, with the three were missing. Three men missing. And they found Giselle said two turn up on her doorstep on her office. So I wait to hear, and I'm hearing on another station this morning, actually Daily Not saying, he contacted Rainbow Rescue and they said they cannot speak. They have to speak. But he said they have to get directive from the Children's Authority. And I'm saying, what? Something happened by you. How the Children's Authority? I don't know what the Children's Authority funding Rainbow Rescue. I need answers, because that is what he said. He called them and they said they cannot speak. The Children's Authority or Child Protection, whichever one, say they can't speak until they speak to them. And I'm saying, wait a minute, what's going on? I hope this don't turn out to be another SAGBA report. Or you please get to
that sounds like an excuse off the top of my head.
Yeah.
My mother, listen,
I'm sure the Children's Authority wanted to speak to them, yes, but
yes.
But
my mother always say, no woman don't leave a man if he treating she good. So I would leave it. I would leave that. No child will run away from a home if they are being treated good. Some things have been going on, and if they go back to what went on at the last place where the boys were being hemmed out by the security, all you get cracking. Don't wait for no SAGBA report. Find out what is going on. Go and do a sting operation. If all your women come as a security in the night, I come in to get to the bottom of what's going on here. Because as far as I was involved, Rainbow Rescue was a very nice place. The boys, I used to speak to the boys. Had one whenever I pull up. He used to come out and help me take out the bags with the stuff. And he told me, he said, Miss, if I wasn't here, I wouldn't be going to school, you know. So he was glad the police took him from his home. You know, and it's sad to know you were being abused at home and you come in a place where you thought, hey, I get saved. Thank you, Jesus. And it get worse? No. They need to get to the bottom of why those three boys ran away. Are gone.
Thank you, Ragoobarsingh.
We can't speculate beyond knowing until we know what the facts are.
Yeah, we need to know the facts. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I want to comment on a discussion I heard earlier between Senator Richard and a gentleman about sport and the situation with these sporting organizations, and I think it was really going down the right track because the gentleman seems to have had some experience in these sporting organizations. Now, I have a similar story to give because while I have not been involved in maybe as many as him, I've always been around sporting organizations. Even at my age, I still take a little peeping. And there's a lot of nepotism in these sporting organizations. You see the situation with, I think it's Tima Williams, her name. That's a common thing in national football. If you recall, Gary Griffith's son was called to the national team for screening. Now, I could tell you as somebody with interest in football that he should have never been even called for a national youth team.
Well, okay, well, hear what. You need to
How can you
stop
say
right
that?
now.
We don't know.
I don't know, and that's an opinion, and I don't want.
Yeah, well, I thought I could have expressed my opinion.
But yeah, but when you are using the platform, okay, wait, pause, pause. The young man was given an opportunity, and he availed himself of it. I don't want the platform being used to deride, to diminish the young man's effort. Whether you think that he should have been called or not, that's not fair to him.
No, it's not.
Thank you, Paul.
Not fair to him.
Well said, Paul.
Yeah. Well said. Let's take a couple of calls. 222-8255. Toll free North Americans, 866-525-1099. Those on WhatsApp that are voting, you can go to our mobile app and our website to vote, and after you give your results. A lot of people are still voting on our morning poll.
I hope you're recording it, Steve.
No, they have to go to the app.
That's a rhetorical
website.
I know you would record it in one thing.
No, we take our votes until after 7 o'clock after the news, and then after that it goes to the app and website.
I suppose because the poll is still up there, they are looking at it. So, but you can continue to vote on the poll anyway throughout the day, through our programming via our app, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning on the Power Breakfast Show, which will be Wednesday and midweek already, believe it or not. Of course, just reminding you that theaters on this weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
It is?
Yes, Lotto Madness heads to Cipriani College this weekend. So thank you for all of the people who came out to Sapa over the weekend. We now head to Cipriani College on Saturday, and thank you so much for the inimitable Penelope Spencer making her guest appearance in the show over the weekend in Sapa. So, of course, we are on at Cipriani College this weekend, so East and West and Central Trinidad. We're up north, Saturday at 8:30, Sunday at 6:30. Of course, tickets are available at all our usual outlets, K-Squared Fashions in Eastgate, West Mall, and Brentwood Mall. Electronics Arima, Jubilee Railway, Tunapuna, and Tony's Florals in Valpark Shopping Plaza, and of course, Charflair Auto Services in Charflair.
All right, let's grab this call. Good morning.
Good morning. I was thinking about how a lot of stuff don't be advertised. TV6, I look at TV6 News. They have a sports section like Play of the Day. On that section, they suppose they could use that platform to advertise the local children that's coming up, to shine them for that little 5 hours instead of just this foreign Play of the Day thing on TV6. A lot of stuff doesn't be aired. I live in 5 minutes from City Hall, and sometimes I go down the road and I see a lot of action taking place on the promenade. What happened in City D? Half of this stuff don't be advertised, and that is what news supposed to be. They only advertising who kill, who thief, who get murdered. Add some other stuff in the mix. A lot of, yes, later.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Sampson. All right.
happened to Darren Brown? Wasn't he one of our up and coming? I mean, a few years ago now.
I think he had some injuries.
Yeah, he had some injuries.
He'd been recovering from some injuries, I think. I don't know what happened after that, but to the conversation that was earlier on. And people think because, well, sporting athletes have a shelf life, as Brian Lewis said yesterday. If you reach 35, depending on the discipline, you really start very young in your life, 6, 7, 8, and then you start to peak at 18, 19, and you go into your early 20s, and then you start to, your body takes toll. But there are other disciplines. I saw Shaka Hislop, JFK. He's a big sporting commentator after a sporting career. Atro Bolden. People could be administrators, coaches, teachers in schools, teachers in communities, volunteers in NGO groups. There is a plethora of opportunities. Physiotherapists, UE, and I think UTT have undergraduate and postgraduate sporting programs, degrees, and diplomas. So it's not just about being on the field of play.
Sports medicine,
sports psychology, performance management, coaching. When I say inspirational figures, motivational speakers, it is not just one.
It's vast.
It's vast.
Yeah, it is vast.
Because at 35, as he says, at 35 they retire generally.
Generally, yeah. Like any sporting discipline all over the world, you start to peak. Look at Keyshawn Walker, started 18, 19 when I think it's 18, 19, he got his first medal. You understand? And he's been to 3 Olympics, is it? Or 4?
3.
I think Sydney has one more.
This is his third
Olympics.
Yeah, I think he has one more.
Out of 3 Olympics, he's gotten 2 medals. That is outstanding.
Yep.
Outstanding.
And he's consistent.
So we'll say because Keyshawn Walker didn't medal in 2024 that he's mediocre? Hell no. Absolutely not.
I mean, I can't run the 100 meters again for the Olympics.
Well, to have a Masters Olympics. You have Masters and, you could forward yourself,
Thanks, Paul, for looking out for me.
Yeah, always. Wendell is going up pole vaulting next Olympics.
But he'll get over the vault easy.
Very easy.
He'll get over easy.
You'll have no impediments. None.
Yeah. Stop laughing, Wendell.
Absolutely no impediments going over the pool. There will be no obstructions to take down the crossbar. None. Or very little.
No, they're not kind. Leave a friend alone.
I was on, come on, kind. He will do very well. Nothing will stop in his way of getting the gold medal. Or very little. Or thank you. When it's 4th Olympics, how much people does get to compete in 4 Olympics? Think about it.
4 Olympics?
How many people compete in 4 Olympics or even 3? I mean, we should be eternally grateful to that young man and the other athletes, medal or not. And yes, we want them to medal. They have represented us proudly and well,
from Toko
and happy. Okay, so but that right. There was a wish the caller to identify them. Said who Olympic discipline must be sitting on a chair and pressing a remote.
I see Wendell is sending something saying that Sigoni Mohammed is leaving TV6.
London, yes, he was it. So he was in. Where did he went? London was the gold. Brazil was the bronze. And in addition to the Olympics, Keyshawn has won almost every world championships. You should see Keyshawn's resume, because I already pulled all the information for the profiles that didn't materialize.
I like Sigoni.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yeah. I'd be sad to see her leave TV6. I don't know where she's going, but
CNN, ABC, NBC, Fox. Never know.
I don't know, but all power to her and all.
How was it placed on the weekend, Richard?
Some luck to her. But people, Southerners always come out to theatre, so it was as wonderful. Launching the play in South. Open line, we had one or two little technical difficulties.
Somebody braced me in JFK, sit down minding my business. Tell Ragoobarsingh I'm coming home just now in October. What play he have?
Oh,
Brace me, not even good morning, good evening. Hey, you. Tell Ragoobarsingh I'm coming in October. Make sure you have a play on. You mean, okay, sorry.
I think we have another play. I think we planning to take us to the end of the year.
Well, please. I don't want anybody accosting me in the airport again. Okay?
Yeah.
But we make sure to have a play in October.
But we had a fantastic time over
there. What do with that?
We did have a fantastic time. We always enjoy South. We always love going to San Fernando for theater. So now we had to Cipriani College over the weekend with Lotto Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Lotto Madness has a lot of twists and turns. And it has some, it gets a little, it's kind of Mary Cadance-ish in a kind of way, in some ways. It has some very serious parts in it.
Don't know when Mary Cadance will come back. Don't know. But just to let you know, as we talk in sport this morning, the 52nd annual Junior Carifta Games will be held in our shores of Trinidad and Tobago come April 19th to the 21st. All right, so
you know they need a proper advertising campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing it knowing already resonate people next year, April.
At least it's in the mind, you know.
Coming up just after our 8 a.m. newscast, Marsha Walker has Wendell Fields, founder of the Fathers Association.
Single Fathers Association.
I think he's changing to the Fathers Association. So.
Really? Okay.
Right? So that's coming up just after 8, right here on Power 102 Digital.
Yep, so as we head towards the 8 a.m. hour and to say goodbye, let me remind you that theater's on this weekend. Lotto Madness, well, one of our latest ads that we uploaded late last night or early this morning, I think. We see some of the comments from people who came over the weekend. The fantastic comments you're getting from people who came over the weekend and saw the show. So Lotto Madness is on in Cipriani College this weekend. Saturday at 8:30, Sunday at 6:30. Tickets are available at all the outlets already. You can get tickets at the Cipriani College box office. That box office opens tomorrow from 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. Of course, tickets are $250 general, $300 reserved. And of course, you can get your tickets also online. You can check RSRR Productions Theater page on social media, Facebook and Instagram for more information on how to purchase tickets online. Get your tickets early. So we're looking forward to coming to Cipriani. Cipriani College is really a theater we also like. There's something calming about Cipriani College. I don't know if it's because of the field next door, but you really enjoy the ambience. So we'll be there this weekend before going to Central Bank next weekend. So East, Central, and West, we are at Cipriani College this weekend. Lotto Madness.
All right. Thank you, Rich.
You all have a great day. Don't forget, join us tomorrow when Olympic pole vaulter Wendell Stephen will be on the show.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into 8 o'clock news brief.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is time for a news update to 8 o'clock. I'm Afril Sintelbab. Good morning. A Carapo man was found dead in the kitchen of a house at La Plata Gardens, Valencia, yesterday morning. According to police reports, 30-year-old Anthony Simmons of Simon Road, Carapo, who was well known by police, was found with gunshot wounds to his face. Police sources say Simmons had left Carapo and gone to Valencia to hide. Reports indicate that officers responded to a report of loud explosions at La Plata Gardens at 3:30 a.m. When they arrived at the scene, the officers found Simmons lying against a cupboard in the kitchen area, unresponsive. A mentally ill man is now in police custody following the murder of a woman yesterday. The man allegedly beat 57-year-old Mala Budram to death at her Clerkhorn Village Princestown home. The suspect, who was arrested at the scene, works at the Water and Sewage Authority in San Fernando. According to investigators, around 11:40 a.m., Budram went downstairs to ask the suspect why he had disconnected the internet, which he paid for on a monthly basis. It is believed that the suspect flew into a rage and started beating her. Budram's sister, Omati Bazio, said after the attack, the 32-year-old suspect took a bath and changed his clothes. While sitting at the house, he called them to say Budram program had suffered a heart attack. Investigations are continuing into the death of a man in Central yesterday morning. Police say Virgil Saunders was liming at a bar close to St. Mary's Junction at 3 a.m. around closing time. As he was attempting to go into his vehicle after leaving the establishment, a gunman approached and shot him. Saunders died on the scene. Police said Saunders was known to ply his car as a PH taxi along the Chaguanas to St. Mary's Junction route. Police also said Saunders was popular in the Central area among limers. And the Meteorological Office has issued a yellow level weather alert for Trinidad and Tobago until 5 p.m. today. The presence of Tropical Storm Ernesto may indirectly affect TNT by modifying the atmospheric conditions. Southerly winds are expected over the island, which will result in the sheltered coastlines becoming exposed. With an already moist and generally unstable atmosphere, thunderstorms are likely to develop from early morning and during the daytime today. Gusty winds in excess of 55 kilometers per hour can be expected near heavy showers and thunderstorms, which can dislodge unsecured items. Southerly wind flow can agitate the seas in the Gulf of Paria and southern coastal areas. Rainfall can be expected to reach between 25 to 55 millimeters, which can result in street flooding and localized ponding, thus disrupting the free flow of traffic. Landslips and landslides are possible in areas so prone. Well, that was your update to 8 o'clock. Look out for news info at 12 noon.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. All right, so let's say good morning. Get out to Marsha Walker. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Not bad. Fair to fine. Few scattered showers. Hungry.
And how was all that rain?
Wet. A lot of rain in Diego Martin yesterday. Last overnight.
Night, yes, last night was. Well, I'm in Diego Martin as well. It was.
Yeah, the Diego Martin River was very high, I understand.
Yeah, well, I haven't come out my home yet, so I haven't checked it out. But I could imagine. I was worried. I mean, so where we live, we don't, get floods. But I was worried about those, who you're hearing the rain and you're wondering, can you go to sleep? Do you have to, watch out for what's going on? So, it was, I was praying, and concerned because, as I say, I could go to sleep and kind of think, unless the hill comes down, water won't just come in. And I don't know if you saw today's flyer, but one of the things that I want to raise is are we becoming numb to flooding, or do we have to become numb to flooding? I feel as though we're bit by bit becoming numb to crime, so we've adjusted our lives. Yesterday I went to the grocery at so I went to Price Mart, and of course, there are a lot of robberies you hear about Price Mart, around Price Mart and stuff. And I waited till my husband got home, so that I could feel a little bit safer going. I don't go.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yes, you're showing a video there.
There's a video of, and that's in St. Augustine yesterday.
Yes, yeah.
That's in St. Augustine. I mean, people shouldn't. And I remember a few years ago.
I can't see inside the car, but
someone's in there.
Okay, because I was in Port of Spain. I mean, I'm not often out when rain is falling and whatnot, but I was in Port of Spain just a few weeks ago, and rain started while I was there, and I could not believe. Now, I was in a car park, but there were cars parked, on the side of the road, and very, very quickly, I saw water, just rising.
Quickly, in a blink of an eye.
Yes, so when I saw this video, I was wondering if, was the person really trying to drive through? It was at the corner of Independence Square, and you'd seen cars basically, it was just outside a passport office, and cars basically just stopped because within 5 minutes, they were just caught in this thing. And, the security at immigration had to come out and sort of tell people, come, we have to try to reverse, do something, back up, we can't do anything. You can't go forward. And everybody just kind of had to park there and wait and hope the rain stops and hope that it goes down and before you could drive past.
Edward Street and Independence Square tends to flood a lot in that area. It's like a little bowl that area, because it's so low, you know. And the flooding yesterday in St. Augustine, the Priority Bus Route, Maritime Plaza. And I remember years ago, and people take note if you're going on hiking trips as well, that a young lady was swept away in ankle-high water from a stream because it started to rain. It was coming down heavy, and within 1 minute, it was at your waist. She was found eventually, but you have to be very careful even when you go on hikes. That was
Agreed. I'm seeing here on the news, you know, residents from Caroni to Barataria left reeling by intense rains. So, you know, and this is not just the thing that we were at risk of. You know, we had a storm watch recently. You know, our Caribbean neighbors experienced a hurricane.
Yeah.
This is rainy season rain. We've not even begun to see, you know, that saturation. You know, they'll talk about it saturated, but, you know, we've not had months and months and months of rain. And this is, is it mismanagement? Is it, you know, too much development? What is it? Steve, is my guest back behind the scenes at all?
Pablo is the ones that will bring them in, but I'm sure if Wendell was on, let me message him.
Okay, no problem. That's no. I mean, I'm totally enjoying. I'm totally enjoying speaking to you.
Yeah, not a problem. It's not. We've never really spoken before. Wendell, okay.
And of course, I don't know if you guys spoke. I did not get a chance to listen to you this morning. I normally try to listen before.
What we well about you? Oh my goodness.
That's all right. I'm okay with that.
Paul had a field there. Let's let you know.
Did you speak about the sinkhole by the
Actually,
overpass?
you know, I'm the one that you would usually talk about that, but no, I haven't. And I believe it's by Grand Bazaar. I'm not
just by the last thing I saw was that the Ministry of Work said that they did set up something temporary, but I was looking for some update. You know, I mean, we're obviously it's morning traffic. You know, so I was looking for some.
And you would think that a police car would be there.
Yes, yeah. So I was hoping that, you know, I would see some updates somewhere, but I haven't seen any updates. So thus far, you know, if you can stay out of the right lane, it's after the Grand Bazaar overpass heading.
So it's on the Uriah Butler Highway, right? Is that? I'm not sure of the location.
Based on the video, that's what it looks like. But this, you know, I can only go based, you know, just what the news reports say. It says it's a sinkhole after the Grand Bazaar overpass. Actually, Wendell, you may be able to tell us exactly where it is, because you commute around that area, don't you?
Yeah, but I didn't notice it there. I passed there yesterday. I think you said it's heading southerly off of Grand Bazaar.
After the Grand Bazaar overpass, heading south. Stay out of the right lane. And apparently, cars have been affected by it. So the Ministry of Works issued a media release saying that, you know, they had a temporary fix overnight, and, you know, today that they would be looking at it.
That's everything.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just about being careful coming down the bypass when you're coming up, when you're heading down to Shawanas area.
Yeah, well, they spoke something about Mount Hope, you know, so I'm guessing if you're coming from Mount Hope.
So I'm assuming it's on the Uriah Butler Highway, southbound in vicinity of Grand Bazaar on the extreme right lane. That is what I'm gathering where it is.
Well, none of us
leave you in capable hands of Wendell Fields. And Wendell, I don't know, when we spoke last time, remember there was a chap that I called you about regarding that he had, I don't know if he contacted you.
Well, so many people contact us, so I believe he may have. And what we did, we directed him to contact the show on Friday, and a number of guys did that. So I'm guessing he's one of those guys.
I did relay that message as well. All right, have a good show, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Have a good day. All right, guys, before we get into the conversation, I just want to give you some telephone numbers, because we are going to, well, what I think is a bit of a controversial topic. And, you can chime in. So our Trinidad and Tobago number is 222-TALK, which is 8255. So 222-8255. You can call toll free from the US or Canada at 866-525-1099. Or you can WhatsApp your comments to 318-1021. Okay, so Mr. Fields.
Morning.
I want to get into the petition against former Miss World TT. She was Miss Trinidad and Tobago World in 2014.
Oh, was she? I didn't even know that.
She was, so it feels very cliche because it's kind of like, beauty queen versus, PhD, and yeah, even though persons may not even realize that she did study political science, Mandarin, so it's not like dumb blonde or whatever that, people will try to paint it as. So certainly, I felt the tone was a bit condescending by those that held their doctorates. But before we get into that, so there's so much to talk about. I know that you're here with me till 9 o'clock, right? So you can
till 9. And I stayed up late looking at that entire interview, so I could give proper commentary on it.
Very good. Because I have a few things that was on the agenda. For those who don't know, I did reach out to Wendell very, very late last night because I saw that you were commenting on quite a few of the stories that I wanted to bring up. So I know that you are a concerned citizen, just like myself. If you notice, I don't have anything under my name other than concerned citizen. I am just a citizen that just like you, trying to create a better Trinidad and Tobago. And I do think that we need to, as a society, mature to the level where we can have conversation, we can disagree, which of course is what was unfortunate about that entire episode, because you saw Sarah sort of saying we can agree to disagree, and then it was like, no, but you're wrong.
You're wrong. If you don't see my way, you're wrong.
And I felt like, what was the point? What was the point of having a table full of women talking about things? And when she gave what for me was actually, and I'm very vocal about me being Christian, so for me, and of course, I'm also very vocal about my belief in women being at home, which does not mean that we cannot earn an income. It doesn't mean that we cannot have a voice. It doesn't mean that we're barefoot and pregnant. Hey, I'm right here, right? Talking. But I do think that our God ordained role, and you would have seen that, where who gave you that role? God. And there was a lot.
And as you said that's one of the things that hit me smack in the face, because don't you appreciate, as an advocate for women that are religious, women that believe in God, women that esteem things that they deem to be godly and important to them. And that's so strange, because I put particularly some of the advocates on that panel, I know they advocate for persons and their justice and all these sort of things, to have their beliefs, some of them to believe that they are women even though they are biologically men.
Yep.
And that is fact.
I actually told Sarah, to be honest, I would have to go now and watch the entire episode, because when I started the episode, I was very turned off, because I felt, it started off with, this is about justice. And I said, well, obviously it's not about justice. It's not, because, and then in the very end, you laugh about who gave you that role. God, yes. God gave you that role.
Let me tell you something, Marsha. When we speak of justice, we must understand what gets us to the point of justice. And people always believe, and I saw them equate justice with equality. And to me, equality doesn't always get you justice. Equity does.
Right.
Because let's be real.
Of course they would, because I've seen the feminist movement push the goalpost several times. So when you say equality, they'll tell you, well, that is what we mean. We mean equity, you know, and it's very frustrating because I felt as though the Olympics would have, whether or not the boxer was male or female, I'm not getting into that, right? But I'm getting into the hypocrisy of that conversation, you know, because you stand and you say that we can do anything as good as men. We can apparently be even better entrepreneurs as men. You know, I can find you quotations where women are justifying, you know, that we're better politicians, we're better entrepreneurs, we're better bosses, we're better this, we're better that, you know. But then in the same conversation, you're upset and you say men need to stay out of sport. That in itself proves that there are biological differences, that men are physically stronger. You cannot, on one hand, be upset and want to protect women and say that it's dangerous for a man to get in a ring with a woman, and then not appreciate the role that men have as protectors.
Right. And that's the beauty of equity, right? Equity would restrict certain things so that fairness could prevail. So long and short of the story, an even simpler example, we issue public assistance grants in Trinidad. Are we to say that once I am a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, I should be entitled to one? No. Equity steps in. Equality would say, yes, you are Trinidadian, Marsha is a Trinidadian, the poor man is a Trinidadian, so everybody should get a grant. But equity coming in to serve justice says no. Says those who are deserving, those who are the needy, those who don't have an income are the ones that deserve to take out of this limited funding. So equity brings justice, not equality. But they will always preach equality because it gives them the advantage at times.
At times. And it does feel like a very convenient argument. And I mean, if you would have watched the episode, you would have seen Sarah say, you know,
that continuously.
1 minute you're saying it's a privilege to stay home, then the next minute you're saying it's a privilege to go out. So make up your mind. In fact, in the beginning of the conversation, Dr. Hossain would have said that Caribbean women, it's a difference because we've always worked, and she spoke about slavery. And slavery forced us into the workplace. So I'm thinking, if you started the conversation on the premise that Caribbean women were forced into the workplace, then to me, you're setting the stage to show that's actually not what we want to do.
Correct.
It's what
they have no choice, right?
It's what we
Some of them may have wanted to stay home and nurture the family and would not given or allow that opportunity to do so.
Exactly. So basically, are you saying now that you're choosing to go back to a state where technically your ancestors probably did not appreciate? They were forced to work when they came, and this is according to her words, because I tend to like to use your own words. You know, they would have come from a situation where they were not workers. They came here and they were forced to work.
And I like how you say use her words, because I don't know if sometimes people, because they carry a certain title, say things out there and do substantiate it, you know.
Yeah.
Where's the evidence to prove what she said is actually true? You understand?
She will be able to tell you that there is evidence, you know. But
I mean, people always say they have evidence, Marsha. I could tell you about very recently. Everyone know I'm on the board of the Telecommunication Authority, and there was evidence that men were behind or boys were behind girls in ICT when it comes to accessibility or literacy or accessing ICT skills for decades, and that's why they had to develop programs particularly for women and girls, like ICT for women and ICT for girls. And I said, show me the data. Don't show me the data for another nation. Show me the data for our diaspora. Show me the data for Trinidad and Tobago. And after the Digital Inclusion Survey of 2021 came out, boys were behind, males were behind, girls were in front. And then on that premise, I said, well, if this is what is happening, then we have to have ICT for boys. Then we have to have ICT programs that empower men as well. Something like ICT, which is now or soon to be the new, an additional form of literacy. Because you could be literate, reading, writing, and arithmetic, in the world to come that they want to digitize. If you are not ICT literate, you are at a digital disadvantage.
Agreed.
You purposely left boys out based on statistics that clearly was not from our geographic, and purposely left them out and caused them to falter even further. So that's why I question when they love to say run. I love stats. When they say run to the statistics. You understand? Because many times they say that when we're talking about IGDS, I don't mean to segue. I saw one of the commenters attack Sarah and said, so you're going to challenge Dr. Gabrielle Hussein and she's from the IGDS, however. I remember when I started Single Fathers Association, Gabrielle, Dr. Hussein wasn't even the head of IGDS, but she was on the committee, and it was a committee of only women that Mr. Dexter Mahadio, who eventually committed suicide, brought me to meet. And when I went to meet them and told them, hey, I believe there's a inequity and imbalance when it comes to the issuance of custody and fathers getting custody of the children. And she, with her own mouth, that's where the first day I met her, said, we are unconcerned of statistics to deal with men. We are concerned with women and children.
Be careful, they don't slap you with a defamation suit, so be careful.
She could say that. She was on the table with me. You know, Randall Fields has opened his mouth and say anything that's not so. I have court closed, especially for her. You understand? When I was appointed to the post-COVID committee, she didn't hold back to speak. So long and short of the story, she could go right ahead. I was on that table with her. And that is the end of that is the truth. You understand? I have emails in my email where we were talking about Single Fathers Association being a group, and she put in the emails in the email string that she has an issue or their organization doesn't identify and any boards that only have men on the board as directors. These are things that I have that I could show any point in time. So I know when it comes to the stats, men have challenges, boys have challenges on the stats. And that is why 90% of the programs they boast that the ministry have, 90% of them, they don't even know the catchment age to catch boys. They don't even know the interest that boys have. So they develop a number of programs and it's always empty, or it's always under-resourced, or it's never going to ever reap any success or benefit because they don't do the research on boys and men.
Well, so I actually saw you use the word empowerment, and that was one of the comments you had commented under. I don't know if so. Are y'all seeing it? So it's the trio killed by police in the Caroni shootout, and I want to get into that story a little bit. But I did see you comment where you said, for generations, for years, we have spent time empowering women.
Correct.
Not concentrating on men. And that is something that I have wholeheartedly agreed with. I have often said that the answer to toxic male patriarchy is not feminism. We need to teach men to be men. We need to give men space to be men. Is our education system designed for boys? Boys cannot sit down and learn the same way a girl can learn. Like, let's be real. Is it designed for them? You look at studies where you talk about the impact divorce has on a guy versus a girl, right? Girls tend to actually respond in what would be considered a positive way to divorce, because you now have to perform your way into love and that kind of seeking that validation through performance. So even though the world may see you as, over successful, it's a very toxic way of becoming successful. But so you're looking at this data without really understanding it. Right? So you're seeing girls outperforming boys.
All right.
And I've often said, but that may be linked to the way that we respond to divorce. So if divorce is increasing, and you see that the natural response for a girl is to drown herself into success.
Let me give you an example as a touch on education.
Those kinds of things.
Let me give you an example as a touch on education, and there's a point my good friend from Tobago, who is a girl dad. He ain't a boy dad. He is a girl dad, and he is big on education. And something that riddles him, it is because he works so closely with his children when teaching them for SCA, that he came up on the observation that most of the textbooks, while tutoring his daughters, said empowering things about girls and negative things about boys. So Jane is the brightest girl in the classroom. Johnny is the most talkative. Johnny is the most disruptive. You always see the boy as the troublemaker. You always see the boy as the one that is bad and the one that is him. And he had a big issue with that because subliminally, you are saying to the classroom that young girls will always perceive to excellence and the average boy will do the opposite.
Yeah, he'll just give trouble in class.
Right.
And,
so
you know, even with this, there was an article, and I know y'all think that I pound the prime minister a lot, but he's the prime minister, so he's the number one, you know, person to be accountable.
Right.
And if persons remember, I used to pound. In fact, I protested outside Kamla Prasad Bisessa's office when the office of prime minister was there. But persons don't remember that I protested outside her office when she was prime minister. Anyway,
convenient memory they have sometimes.
That's all right. So the prime minister would have said, and this is a while ago, the article is a while ago, but, you know, reading it again, just to bring everything in preparing for the show. And, you know, he spoke about HCC, the list of HCC applicants had too many single mothers on the list. Right. And then you're going on to it, and it's automatic that the reason, because he's saying has a lot of single mothers on the list. Men, y'all need to stop being delinquent. Y'all need to stop abandoning the woman. So there was this automatic assumption that the reason we have lots of single women is because men are delinquent.
You see?
You know, and again, I felt that to be a very unfair statement. And I mean, so I'm pursuing a biblical counseling certificate, right?
Right.
And you know, when we were discussing marriage, the first thing that, you know, and my teacher has a doctorate, by the way. So the first thing that he said is, you know, men and women are different. And, you know, you may watch your husband and think that he's a caveman, but he is, you know, like, and the truth is, you want them to become like you. Would you really want a husband that's a girl?
You like, don't want that.
You don't. And we have to allow men to be men. You know, I mean, I'm gonna use a real dumbed down example, but who says that the toilet seat has to be up or down?
Right.
You know, basic example, but it's just to show that we feel as though men must become women. When men must always, you know, and I'm not saying that y'all could just be silent. You know, there is room for communication, but is there room for us to hush a little bit and just give the man some peace?
That's possibly why he's not speaking in the first place. You understand? So the thing is this, and it doesn't only start from the manhood realm. It starts from boyhood. The way that boys are socialized, it's completely different to girls. My son's birthday is today, and he had his friends over. They had a little kind of pool something. And if you see those boys play, women get frightened. Oh my God, you're gonna break a limb. Okay, all right, you're gonna do this. You're gonna fall on the bike, he cut his hand. And because women did not have boyhood experiences, and men had that, we understand there are certain things that we need to allow, certain things that we need to experience, certain things like that.
I wrote recently, I can't remember where, but I spoke about, it was on Father's Day, where I said, can we please normalize, stop telling single mothers Happy Father's Day, stop.
Correct.
And I explained the injustice that you're actually doing to your child when you think that you can fulfill both roles. Again, speaking to marriage, now I speak to parenting. There is a way that men discipline that women simply cannot. It just is. I say all the time, I mean, a man has a deep voice and I think that I have a deep voice. I mean, I'm in a choir, so I can say that, you know, I have a deep voice, right? And there is no way I could shout from now till thy kingdom come. When the father reaches and he brings his deep voice, everybody knows something different.
Correct. Sometimes the man doesn't even. You're correct. Sometimes we don't even have to bring a deep voice.
Just
you understand? Sometimes it's just your presence, you know.
That we will never have.
Correct. And not only that, the child sees as well. The child sees the frog, and daddy comes in and saves the day. The child sees the cockroach flying, daddy comes in. The child sees when mommy cannot open the bottle. Boy, open the cement, and daddy cracks it in one cracks, and the whole cover flies off. The child is amazed by it. He is different to the child. For that girl, I am safe. I cuddle up on, and even for the boy, I've dealt with young boys, and I always remember one particular scenario where the mother and the father had the perfect co-parental relationship. He could go back and forth as he wanted to. And he said that in his later life, when he turned when he was like 14, 15 or so, he preferred to stay with his father. So I say, why? What about your mom? He said, when I am by daddy, I feel like a child. Because when he is with mommy, and I grew up with a single mother, I will tell you, by the time we reach 13, 14, and our muscles get bigger, our height gets taller, our voice gets deeper, we start protecting them. Especially if there isn't a male that is older than us there.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
the fears and the concerns.
You have to now step into a role, into the man of the house.
Correct. Yeah. A role that you're not ready yet for. So when he is with his father, he knows if a bandit come in, I am going to help daddy if anything. But if a bandit breaks into mommy's house, I am the one to go forward first. And these are the things that no matter what they say or which direction they come from, I mean, one, yes, because of our physical nature and also our spiritual nature, we are automatically shifting to rules. Whether they like it or not. If there's war in this country right now, just like there was war across with Russia, the 18-year-old boys were not allowed to leave. The men who thought themselves to be women, at that point, they stopped recognizing them as trans anything. They became men again and had to pick up arms and fight when those trans women wanted to leave with women. So another statement that
there's so many examples. You know, I didn't even think of the war example, but there are so many examples that point to biology affects your role. It's that simple. And I just could not believe how confidently it was like, it doesn't. And then to say to Sarah, you're not speaking facts. What?
Correct. Correct. Look at even in the TTPS. Look at the fire service. Because of how we're built, because of the things. If you're telling me, as you rightfully pointed out in the Olympics, if you're telling me that the fastest man that ran 100 meters ran 9.58 and the fastest woman runs 10 point something, automatically you're saying when we put a man and a woman at their best and highest peak, a man, because of how he's built, because of his DNA, because of what God has put inside of him, whether they like God or not, like the business, he is more physically dominant. We'll be fools to believe anything else.
Serena Williams, who is peak, she will tell you she's not going to compete against any man because it's different. It's simply different. That's the bottom line. Let's talk. Because we could continue this conversation forever, but there are just a few political things you could comment on it. I don't know if you read the details of the trio killed by police in the Caroni shootout. There are some things that I highlighted. Right? Amir Bisoon, who was 16 years old, relatives.
That's the one they call Pa.
Pa, yes.
Right.
He left home with $4,000, around $4,000, which his mother said he had saved up to go liming.
That in itself should say something.
let me take a moment of silence for that. You are 16 years old. First of all, what are you doing to be able to save up $4,000 at 16 years old? Why do you need $4,000 to go on Lime?
And to Lime, I mean, to waste that $4,000 to Lime that hour in the morning. The normal 16-year-old who's in a house, sometimes I live in a house where there's mother and father. I know it's easier when it's father, but there is a parent who's a disciplinarian. Even if it's a single mother, he can't be out at that hour. Even if he has that money, that level of money, he has to account for how he earns that money. You understand? So the thing is, in the case with Pa, I saw a video with Pa that was issued on the Ian Allen's page with Pa in 2018 crying over his daddy's body, crying his father was killed. I don't know if the father was in some narcotic trade or whatever, because he had rest in peace daddy.
That's actually the other thing that I circled, that he is the third member of his family to meet a violent end. Last December, his uncle Anon and friend Shane were murdered. But funny enough, they didn't. Oh, yes. And then in 2018, Bisun's father was gunned down at the family's home.
Correct. And if you saw that video of hurt and anguish and pain, and at that time, he possibly was about 9, right? So much pain and anger that someone came to comfort him and he slapped them away at that age. You understand? So my thing is this. Clearly, he had no parental guidance. Clearly, the family, even I don't know if people were involved in narcotics or not, but clearly they did not have what was necessary to reform this young boy's life or to keep him from a particular path from 9 years old. And my thing is this, Marsha, if the family doesn't have it, we must have somewhere in state that intervenes. Because this boy was 9.
Church is a good place. That's where church is a good place.
That's a good place to start.
I tell people all the time, right? And again, in that same video where I spoke about women understanding the role, and I mean, persons, again, people who feel they know you because they now come and start to follow you will say you privileged because you have husband. I said, I was a single mother for 9 years. And when I was a single mother and people wrote to say Happy Father's Day, I said, pardon, I'm not your father.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And Jesse's dad was not around. You know, in fact, Richard was always around. So the point is, you have to find male role models. Her grandfather, my father was around. Her uncles were around. I mean, that is where I would say I was blessed. I have 4 brothers. My father is a soldier. So you have that kind of strong testosterone that the world like to say is toxic. No, let man be man. You spoke about that, and I always say my father was my hero. I saw my father literally what it looked like to me was leap a wall with a single bound.
Well,
he was my hero. I remember being in a grocery and the grocery was being robbed, and my father moved us away, tell my mother, hold the children, and he saved the day.
Correct. So just to jump in there, I want to touch on a point that Dr. Gabriel made that I think she should be cancelled for. You understand? You see that example you just made there? She said to women that men are their greatest enemy. And to me, that is the biggest disrespect to every male on this planet.
I missed that one.
Yeah, knowing that men lay their lives down for women. Yes, you get a minor percentage of men that harm women and kill women, but there are men that hunt them down and bring them to justice. It is men going to hunt those same men down to bring them to justice. When you see them coming handcuffed, it's men that have risked their lives. Men, when it comes to tragedy, we always put women and children first. A building is burning, a boat is sinking. Women and children first. If you are male, you know you must go last, and men don't complain about that. When you have a robbery take place, you see 90% men. We had 2 women try to arrest a man the other day and couldn't do it. And then the taxi man had to get charged because he didn't help. This is what I'm saying. So long and short of the story, how in the world would, and I want women to condemn that statement, particularly women who have husbands, women who have fathers, women who have brothers.
Send me the timestamp.
I will send it to you. You must condemn that. How could you make a careless statement like that? You understand? Men have and continue to defend women, whether it's in war, whether it's in tragedy. 99% of the times men are the ones defending. And we don't appreciate it. Let me tell you why. When we look at the statistics being put forward in the war, how many people died, you see how many women and children died. 10 times more than you see the men who give up their lives.
Yeah, those are the pictures that you see where they try to jerk a reaction from you because it seems as though that's that. It's okay for men to die in war, but it's not okay for women and children to die in war. And again, I have to come back to the Bible because the Bible commands men lay your life down, just as Christ laid his life down for the church. So when persons talk about, and I see people who try to say, you're really outdated with your views when I talk about, a woman should be home, nurturing the home, preparing the home, creating an atmosphere in the home. And I said, but hold up. I am unapologetically submissive. And biblical submission does not mean I put my hand up and take lash. That's not what it means.
Right. Correct.
Nothing on the verse, in the same chapter, you see the man's call. The call is love your wife as Christ loved the church, laying his life down for her. Yesterday in Price Mart, I say if I had somebody to record, if somebody was recording my husband and I in Price Mart, they would say, well, look at that worthless man. Because he was standing at the cart while I was packing the car. Not understanding that the reason he's standing at the cart? Because he was watching my back while I pack the car. It does not make any sense for me to watch his back. Why going and scream and say, Richard, look at her. And then by that time, exactly.
And the thing is, Marsha, the thing is, people like yourself and many other people make these things work. Why do these feminists hate to see this? When most times people who have come to that understanding, because you've come to a very big understanding, people believe, boy, I will submit to somebody who pays me. I'll submit to somebody who is in a better financial position than me. So that's why a woman will submit to her boss very easily, whether it's a man or whether it's a woman. Not understanding, I often tell that to couples. I don't care that you start to make more money than him now. You know what you're submitting to him for? The fact that he must submit his life to save you. Because that is an entirely different circumstance, I could tell you as a man, if you know you have a woman, a daughter, and in your case, a woman and two daughters, he at many times up while you're sleeping. Because
that one I ain't know about, huh?
You might think so. Because at the end of the day, he want to make sure that window secure. If they come in, what will happen? This because he understands that if someone invades the home, with me as well, I can tell you, we are the ones that are prepared to die. And we take that as a privilege in our life. And I don't know why women can't see the privilege of honoring your husband for that.
Yeah. And the conversation, and I do think, and the issue, the comment where who gave you that role, God, and then laughing after it, shows to me the root of the feminist agenda. It shows the root of the feminist agenda. And the bottom line is the conversation has been one where once again we've taken, and I'm not saying that there aren't abusive men. First of all, we are all human. We will not get this thing perfect, right?
Correct.
We will not. But the answer to it is not to say to a woman, well, you need here, go your way. Become so strong, become the man that you don't even like. Because, I was raised by a single mother. And my father was abusive, even though, and it's difficult. It was very difficult because he was my hero. He was an amazing father, a rotten husband.
Same thing with me.
So it's difficult. But my father would have raised me to be protected from a guy like him. So I would have been rougher than I think I was supposed to be. I would have been more independent than I think I was supposed to be. That not trusting men the way that I was supposed to trust. And as I said, conversation has gone the wrong way. The response to it was not because, and I wrote an article when I used to write for Guardian. And I said, what happened was that my mom became empowered. So she left. But nobody stayed back to work with my dad. And that's what you see in society. We seem to want to work with the women, but then we leave the men to do what they want to do. And the solution, the real solution, is to hold men accountable, to make sure that, men know the responsibility, the honor of being a man. When we have this conversation where we think, well, men, we don't need you. Like I could go to a sperm bank and get some sperm, and that's really all I need from you. The conversation, and we make it out as though women are needed. Women are the ones that are needed. Women are the ones that are needed. And we've not taken the time to have a conversation where we express regularly the importance of men in society, the importance of men in society, the honor. I like the word that you use, the honor.
That is exactly why we're seeing the increase in suicides, right? Hopelessness. You feel your life don't make a difference. You feel you have no value in this society. So it's easy for a man to kill himself. And I mean, in our group, we've done research sometimes on things that cause men to commit suicide. Divorce, financial hardship, if they're having a health issue, and some of them have all of them combined together, right? Separation from their kids. These are the reasons that they commit suicide. And at the end of the day, if we are addressing none, if suicide on men have reached as high to 83%, we have like about 12 men that committed suicide in the last 2 months, and it still hasn't become a national health concern. We still haven't heard anything. We still haven't seen any targeted approaches, whether it comes to sensitization on the television, particularly to the greatest victims of suicide. Then it says to us that you are not important. You only care when a man commits suicide when he kills somebody else.
But even with gang culture, we are losing our young men to the gun. And it's A-okay. We are losing our men. We're losing our men to suicide. We're losing our men to gang culture. And as you see, it does not seem to bother anybody.
But I was surprised. I was surprised. Not surprised, I'm not gonna lie. But I found it distasteful when the Negro lady there, I didn't get her name. When Asante or something like that. When she didn't care. When Sarah was saying men are committing suicide, men are homeless. We have men are 94% of the homeless on the streets of Port of Spain are male. Go to your eyes, you will see it there. You understand? When she was bringing up these important points, she dismissed it. And she said, well, why? We were the ones fighting for equality all the time. Yes, we were this, we were that, we were the other. But I love how Sarah brought her back to the position where even she herself had to say a lot of what was inside of her was because of her father, because of her husband. Yet in the vice versa scenario, these men that have supported you and empowered you, you are saying that is their business. I know she tried to come back in the end with a cock and bull story to make it sound like togetherness. They always do that. When you put them in a place that they can't answer, they start going on ramblings about, let's do this together. That's what we're saying. But that's what Sarah was saying all the time, and you weren't in agreement with before.
Yeah.
So I think if anybody, I must commend Sarah. I listened to the statement when it came to the we're talking about our ancestors, when indentured laborers and our ancestors, and I realized from that petition how much they gaslighted that racial part of it to make people not look at the issue.
So let me point let me point out something to you. When I first clicked on the petition, that was not the description.
Oh,
that was not the
so
description.
they added that in.
So when they realized they were not getting any support,
Right,
I went back to it because I was looking to see who was the creator, because Woman Antra had pulled themselves out and said, that's not us.
okay.
And so I went to see who was the creator.
Mm.
And of course, anonymous. They didn't put a name to it because they're cowardly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I realized, I said, but wait, them changed this whole thing to try to say that Sarah, her race, and she's trying to silence. I said, what?
Correct. And that is what they do. They're so-called doctors and feminists and more intelligent than we are. But they always need to gaslight something. You understand? They always need to gaslight. So they realize just talking based on what they were saying, and possibly people who saw the show was in a more agreement with Sarah, they had to bring in the race element to say that she believes, you're saying that she believes more or less she's massa. Yeah. And she said nothing of the sorts.
And she was trying to silence the woman of color.
Correct. She said nothing of the sort. All she said is that, hey, Israeli ancestors that, and is it true? When I speak on race, I speak about my ancestors.
And that's what she said. When she said we were enslaved, all Sarah did was correct the statement to say, okay, you were not enslaved, your ancestors were enslaved. And even LeBlanc said, yeah, well, it's kind of like, you know what I mean,
Of course, she agreed with it. And let me touch on that point there when it comes to race, because this real troubles me badly. And we talk about patriarchy and these things. I heard you mention it as well. And I realize that this concept of patriarchy and men marginalizing women and all these things, when I really examine it, have we forgotten that at a time, and my father told me this, my father is 90 before he died last year. There was a time he as an adult male could not right here use certain spots, go certain places, have certain jobs that white women could have or fair colored women could have. You understand where I'm coming from? So to me, I am asking myself, this whole concept of patriarchy, was it men or was it a particular man? And that particular man didn't only marginalize the other gender of his race, he marginalized men of color together with women of color as well. So when we use patriarchal points as reasoning to do things like what we did with the ICT example I used, you are saying in our diaspora that our colored boys, Indian and African, who also were marginalized by this particular powerful group of men, they must suffer for it too. And I have an issue with that. I have an issue with black people, with black women being so, as Asante was about this feminism thing. Because I ask myself, when I do research, I do especially, I do those civil rights research a lot. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. Where were they with Rosa Parks? Where were they when she was locked up? It was Nixon and Luther. Nixon had to go and take her bail. It was men and women who stood together for the bus boycott. So I don't understand. Feminism was buoyant in those days. Where would the feminists to support Rosa Parks at that point in time? Why they didn't come the next day and put her on the bus? It were men of color and women of color that stood together to get rid of that whole race tension. Yeah. Together. And that is it. So when I hear women, African women, or women of color, meaning Indian as well, be so vehement and hate men so much, they forget the men that stood alongside them, that were marginalized together with them, that fought together with them to break the back of that particular man that marginalized everyone else. I often say that feminism wasn't created for the woman of color. Maybe now they have been able to enter into it. but they did not create it for them. Because if they did create it for them, they would have fought for them when it mattered most. And that is my view on feminism.
Well, that's actually a really, really good point. So there's a pastor in the US that wrote a book called Fault Lines. It's not like being black. And he spoke about, the social justice movement and this idea that you are trying to use, and he's black, and you're trying to use this race card to push an agenda that has nothing to do with race. And we saw it happened before us locally when you were trying to push this feminist agenda. You were trying to push this idea of roles and that God did not give us this, or who gave us your role. And when we realize that we're still a very religious society and the country probably will not accept you and your nonsense about who gave you your role, you try to go with race. And that's, his book is about that. It's just, stop trying to piggyback off of race. Stop trying to piggyback off of a real struggle that happened, trying to use that empathy to be able to. So because the feminist conversation didn't stick, you're now trying to paint Sarah as Massa, who was trying to silence the woman of color on the table.
Right. Exactly. And that is why to me it's so ironic, because I know when feminism started, I know at that point in time, the very same women of color needed a lot of help. And it was the men that stood together with them. And that is what made them strong. That is what made them a force to be reckoned with. That is what got the other men and women who were not of their color to stand with them as well, because of their unity. And I saw Sarah trying to make that point of interdependency, depending on each other. Nobody is an island. We all need the other. Simple as that. I always say, to me, I don't see this independent woman thing. You can be financially independent, but we depend on people. If you have a husband, if you have a lover, we depend on you. You depend on us for emotional gratification, for concern, for love, for companionship. That is dependence. So it's sometimes we depend on each other so much in those stages. We see when Granny died, Grandpa died the week after, because that was his lifeline. That was his source. You understand? He was dependent on her survival. She was dependent on his survival. And I find it very unfair, but clearly to me now I realize feminists do not represent the perspective of the Christian woman.
They don't.
Not even the Christian, the religious woman generally.
Yeah, not even the Christian woman, because you see it in Islam, you see it, in
everywhere. They do not represent that. So they cannot say they are the chief advocates for women, because they do not have a respect. I listened to what that woman told, who? God? If that is Sarah's belief, how could you ever diminish it like that? If that is her belief. Because her belief is that a God created us biologically. And biologically, if we look at ourselves, we see women have mammary glands, we see women have uterus, we see women have ovaries, we see a particular role being prescribed to them from just their physical composition. So if it is her belief that it is a God that has given her that, how could you diminish it and say, a God has given you that role? Utterly disrespectful.
Absolutely disrespectful. And we're going to end on that note, because believe it or not, our hour is up. We didn't even get into all the other political topics, but that's
more time, man. Next time.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I mean, I know that I messaged you really late.
No problem.
Thank you for then watching the episode and all of that.
And guys, I must thank you for making me watch the episode, because I think it is important. And I love when women like yourself, Sarah, all these women in Trinidad and Tobago stand for what you know is right. You are a woman as well, and you are allowed to express yourself as well. Don't let Dr. Race discourage you. Anytime I back in all you know that.
Right. Because unity.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Have a nice day.
You too.